Right, okay, so we're live. Hello, everybody. You are joining us for the Opus 20 Dawn of Heroes set review. With me today is local legend, of course, Sam Jackson.
Yo, yo.
The co-presenter of every week's stream so far, Anthony Fish.
Howdy, all.
We have Earth Water legend that can make great combo decks that work at locally and not in big tournaments, Connor James.
Absolutely right.
We have somehow he qualified for Euros, James Kiddie.
Hey, play better on a hangover, just is how it is.
And the king of 17th place, Jacob Bond.
You better goddamn believe it.
Okay, so set just launched and we've got everything. Let's jump straight into it. So we're starting here in Fire and we have Arden. So interesting card, I think we can say for certain. I'm not quite sure if it's playable. Fire guy James, what do you think?
It's going to take someone with an IQ much bigger than mine to figure out how to use this. There is something there. That this tech card has got too much text for there not to be something there. And I think if someone manages to break it, it could be insane. But can we actually get to that, ascend to that higher plane?
I think for my taste, it's got bad job, bad category for the element, and putting two backups in the break zone can be really good for the amount of refunds and for getting as much space as you need, but it doesn't say what it does. So it's one of those things where the maths of the card don't quite make sense of when you actually might be able to use this. So I don't know, for me, probably a not.
Also, bad element for like deck manipulation as well. Like there are certain elements that you can manipulate your deck slightly, but fire is not one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
On the back of that as well, I'd say bad element for putting backups into the break zone. Fire doesn't usually want to do that at all.
The one exception to that I think of is I'm a massive fan of the Zande that came out 2 sets ago now. I think it was the one where you get to deal when it enters, you deal damage equal to the number of characters that have been put from the field to the break zone.
The Fire Earth one, yeah.
The Fire Earth one, yeah. So I like the fact that this fuels this on its own. I tell you what this reminds me most of is that old legend Agrius, the 6-drop that flips your until you hit a 3-drop and plays it for free.
Yeah, but you can control Agrius more than you can control this.
That's the issue. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it reminds me of. But I like this hitting 2 rather than hitting 1 sounds like it's good, but then at the same time you can't. You have to have the prerequisite of the 2 backups first. Fire also doesn't have a generic searcher, which is definitely making this card a little bit more difficult to play. Yeah, I mean if you want, because like with the Agrius, if you wanted to build a deck around it, you could play ways of searching the Agrius like the Melwood or whatever, but there's no way of getting this card from your deck. So if you build an entire deck around this one card and try manipulating this one card, it's just not going to work outside of playing Cindy. I think which
I think basically what I'd say then is buy your foils now and wait.
I mean, it's got potential. It's definitely got
skill ceiling is huge.
Yeah,
not right now. So I think next. Thank you. Next.
Yeah.
Sorry, Taylor.
Aura.
Speed dating.
Chef's kiss.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I think that this is enough reason to play Zodiac again.
What deck does this go in? It reads well, but what's it go in?
Sure. Okay. Well, you've got Fire Rush that you could do with this. I suppose that there's maybe if you want to use like a dark sort of build with it, there's a lot you can do just to get Zodiac and everything. But that way you have to probably do it through Earth. But I don't know.
I tell you what. This is good Magissa protection because if you're trying to ping the Magissa, and the opponent tries to interact with it in that interim period, this is a good. No, I'm reading this. No.
It's damage out to you, not to
no,
yeah.
I think it's still a Magissa card, right? Because
it's a Magissa.
If you haven't got your Magissa, you can use your pings on Orin to dig for Magissa.
Yes.
So you don't need to, you just pay 0 to do it, so you don't need to ping the Auron.
That's an
No,
interesting
for the
question.
draw, for the card draw.
Yeah, but you could just pay 0 to do 8k damage to Auron for free. You don't need to spend a resource to ping him to get the draw.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it happens instant speed. You're right. Yeah, fair. So I didn't mean to do that.
As what I thought was that if you had Megissa out and you had Auron out, you could just play a Blaze to ping the Megissa and the Auron to search the Alpha or whatever, then you'd net in 2 cards back of him, making Blaze essentially free, but at the same time, yeah, Auron could just kind of do this by himself, so I don't think it's entirely necessary.
With that in mind as well, what you can also do is use this with the Ifrit that I suppose we'll talk about pretty soon. Because that's 5k to 2 places, which is going to do Megissa and this for the draw. But
yes.
for me, I'm just really excited about it not taking, damage negation. I see this in a sort of fire-water sort of build, where you can, again, maybe search with things like, well, if there's anything that's got even a sort of Minwu damage becomes 0 thing, then that means that Auron's not even going to take damage off of the whole not taking damage trigger thing. I don't know. There's a lot. I think
This is
there's
a
a lot
draw,
I like
though.
about this.
It is during both players' turns, so it does have that going for it.
I don't suppose there's much else to
Oh
say about
yeah,
that.
you draw on both turns, so you actually draw once on your turn and once on your opponent's turn. Even that's just an insane card draw that Fire hasn't got at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure, you need a 1k ping to finish him off, but if you pay 5 for this thing, you do it, and then what is your opponent going to do? Play like a Dryad to try and finish it off? Then sure, they played a Dryad. If they got a Warrior of Light, that might suck. So that's probably the one card you're worried about, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, but you just do this when they attempt to pass priority, right? So the very last action that happens in the game is this, hopefully. So even if they have follow-up, they have to overcommit CP because they've essentially already committed their CP to end their turn. So you just hold until the last action of each turn, use this ability, draw cards.
I'm just happy to see good fire cards, if I'm honest. Which this one is as well, Ifrit. The YYT spoiler. Choose one of the 2 following actions if you control 5 or more fire characters, which you probably do. Select up to 2 of the following, which is choose one forward, deal at 5k, and choose one forward, deal at 5k. Excellent card. This is exactly the sort of thing that fire needs. 1 CP, deal 10k.
1 CP, 10k, what the hell?
Exactly what fire's looking for. Love it. Nothing bad to say about this card.
If their damage gets buffed as well, it's buffed twice, which is very, very nice.
So would that mean Terror effect would deal 7, right? Each?
No, because Terror is on cast. This isn't 2 effects, it's 1.
Okay.
It basically, if you've got 5 characters, it changes the text to say that.
Yeah.
Does the text say do it once or do it twice? But it's still just one action.
Inferno Lord will make it do 6 each.
Yes.
Because you can just buff the number itself.
Yes.
This is ridiculous. This card is ridiculous.
I'm just happy to see it's not like something stupid where it's just like deal 5k, just that, or deal 7k, or just numbers that aren't as relevant as they could be. It's just nice to see just do 10k in mono fire. It's exactly what the identity it needs. Just don't spend a lot, do a lot. Love it.
It kills Warrior of Light. It kills Warrior of Light for 1 CP.
Can't argue with that at all. Next up, we have Warrior of Light. I have been championing this card. I think this is another thing that I've been really excited to see Mono Fire get. So when Warrior of Light enters the field, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, remove 1 card among them from the game, and this turn you may cast it. I think this is fantastic for, it's essentially card draw in Fire. And if you're in fairly early game, that you know you're going to get hit a backup early or something like that, you're probably going to play this only when you know that you can afford to play whatever you get. But I think the ceiling for it's really high. Even if you don't play what you remove, you're still thinning the deck. I don't know. James, your thoughts on this as the Mono Fire boy?
I like it. It essentially gives you another option in your hand. It's effectively generating 2 pseudo CP because it's pulling something out the deck as if it was in your hand. So I think that it very much depends on the deck it goes in. A high tempo deck would like this, certainly. And even if you could, it's hard. This, I think it has a high floor because you could flip a goblin or any similar backup and instantly ramp off. Because it's not conditioned to forward its card, so you can play backups off of it, or monsters, or ways to search.
Summons.
So it's a go faster card in a sense.
It's not really like a name clash in like fire heavy decks, really.
No,
It's not.
For a while, I really liked the Opus 7 starter one that like got haste if you got loads of guys or anything. But this is not that sort of thing anyway. It's just card draw and fire is just needed regardless, and I think it's exactly the sort of thing that giving you an extra card to utilize is perfect, really. Buy your foils, get it. It's good.
It doesn't fix Fire's issue though, which is backup ramp.
It could.
It could hit a backup, doesn't guarantee it. I don't think Fire isn't really viable until it gets some sort of backup ramp.
Just get Miyu.
Well, yeah, it was Miyu goes a long way, I think.
It kind of reeks a bit of that 5-cost Shadow. It was like flip 5, reveal the 2-cost backup. I don't. Again, Fire doesn't have enough manipulation to make it worth it, I don't think.
Fair enough. Speaking of bad cards, then we have Garland, who costs 6. He has an EX. He has Brave. He has 9k. And when he enters the field, he can deal 2,000 for each backup you control. We've seen cards like this so many times, and this doesn't work for summons. And it definitely doesn't work for forwards. It's too expensive. It doesn't do anything. And yeah,
It's draft out of 10.
Draft or sealed, perhaps. Yeah. Not really too much to say. Should we move on?
Yep.
Nope.
Blacksmith, a 14 backup that says when you enter the field, all of the forwards you control gain when this forward attacks. Choose one forward opponent controls. Deal it 7k.
I think it's a great card, but the problem is if you see it at the wrong time of the game, it's pointless.
Yeah, completely.
It is actually not that bad.
Would you play this?
No.
Well, there we
With
go.
the new Tifa, perhaps?
No, you don't need it with new Tifa.
But then, like, how many are you running to see it at the right time? And if you're running more than one, you then if you're running one, you definitely don't see it when you need to see it. If you're running 2, you also don't see it when you see it too early. So actually, like when you haven't got any forwards. So yeah, I don't know about this one.
No, me neither. Draft out of 10.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
The Demon. Oh,
Hey!
I love this card.
Yeah.
Bastard.
7 CP, Mobius, and 6 Warring Triad, of which there's a few in this set. Right, let's buckle up. We've got a lot of stuff to get through here. So, when the demon enters the field or attacks, crazy. Select one of the 3 following actions. Choose one forward, remove all the cards from your opponent's break zone from the game, and deal it 1,000 damage for each card removed by this effect, which is going to kill anything. Name one element, deal it 7k to all forwards of the named element, or name one job, deal 8,000 damage to all forwards of the named job. I think that the numbers are great there as well, because I think this actually shows a lot to do with how cards are designed. So if it's basically elemental stuff, they will probably have it at about 7,000, but job stuff usually goes for 8. So it's an easy board. That's an easier board wipe to something like 13 or to Avalanche than Shadow Lord ever was. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's in the. It goes in so many decks because of its category. Sam, what do you think?
So, Kitty and I have spoken a bit about this card already earlier today. This card is so good in so many decks, as you said. But one deck I think we're going to be talking about a lot today is Cat 6. And this is basically like your mirror match answer, right? Like you can just, Fire's got their way of now removing that break zone. So if you're in that Cat 6 mirror, like stripping everything before if you've got Umaris in there or before Edgar comes down, I think even just the first effect alone makes it really good. The fact that it's got the other effects is just gravy. I think I like it. And as James has rightly said elsewhere, is that you can give it haste with Interceptor, so you can.
Well,
if
we have infinite CP, we can do infinite moves.
Yeah, but it's not that much. If you're playing Cat 6, you got lock on board, you've got infinite CP almost.
James, anything to add there?
Nah, he's hit the nail on the head. One thing to note, if you're calling elements, don't call fire, because you hit yourself. It does hit all things on the board,
sure.
not
interesting.
Just your opponent.
Sorry,
so
Jacob,
be a bit careful, but...
so this is actually one of the decks I've messed around with, is that obviously, 6 is a very important category for this guy, but also so is Mobius. Because I think, as I said, I was having a look, and so these Warring Triads, you've got the one in fire, you got one in wind, you got one in water. That's 3 out of the 4 colours that the Warrior of Light from last set is. So you can, and then obviously your last colour going to be Earth, which is going to be the rest of the supplementary stuff from Mobius. I think that I really want to try just how well these cards kind of just sort of slot into that 4-color wall deck, and just sort of change the dynamic of it to be a lot more, I guess, controlly.
Sure. It's crazy. Again, good fire cards is good, and loads of ways to access it. I'm a big fan of this one. I really want to see where it goes. The next we have Kefka, the one that goes with it. So when Kefka enters the field, remove up to 3 Job Warring Triad with different names in your break zone. Then place 1 magic counter on Kefka for each card removed from this ability. At the end of the turn, you may remove any number of magic counters from Kefka. When you do so, choose up to the same number of forwards as the magic counters you removed and deal them 9,000 damage. It's again, in older sets that would have said 7 or 8k, but 9 pretty much says that no matter what it's going to do, it's going to definitely kill something. So
is it not too slow though?
Potentially, but I think the question that I had more than anything, if you're playing this with your 6 deck, then you can give him haste, so he's going to do something anyway. Especially now that with the ice cards in this, he can party with anything as well, which means he's probably going to survive. But the question we had really was, like, since the other Warring Triads are in wind and in water, which are water somewhat, but not FF6 elements, if you just remove a demon and only gain 1 counter, is that enough? And I think it probably is. I think that even just doing what 9,000 damage to one thing and then having a big body on that, I think that's pretty solid.
It's got to survive to the end of the turn.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No, I just don't think it'll make it there.
Because the thing is, you've got to be playing. You've got to think about like all the scenarios, and I don't think you run 3 of the demon. I think you probably run 2. And if you draw a Kafka before you've seen either in break zone, so you can't really run Kafka more than as a 1 or 2 of really, and so I'm not sold. Especially there's a window in which you have to wait to the end of turn to remove the counter. So there is a window which people could kill it before you even get to do the removal.
Even so, drawing things upside down, you can discard it early though, and you can get things back with sets as we used to have, but probably not anymore. And Edgar, so it's not too much of a problem, like recursion with this sort of thing. So I don't know. Look, I probably wouldn't try and find the space for it either, but I think as the minimum that it can do, which would be to deal only 9,000 damage once, I think that's still probably fine. Yeah. I don't think it's a terrible card. Neither do I think Zach's a terrible card. I think this is really, really solid. This is the other legend. When Zach attacks, choose 1 forward your opponent controls. Deal it 5,000 damage for each job soldier you control. When Zach leaves the field, you may search for 1 category 7 forward of cost 4 or less and play it onto the field. Meteor shots, S, fire, and Dole deal 7,000 damage to all the forwards your opponent controls. There's some good stuff on here. He's slow, but the best stuff that he can do is the fact that he will play a 7 forward from deck when he leaves the field. So that's if he gets bounced, if he gets flickered, if he dies, anything. The card's great. Lots of great targets for him to get, which aren't limited to element or job or anything like that. I think it's really good. Getting an Aerith back means that you'll get him back out of the break zone. There's not really...
Ironic.
It's well, sure. If you want him to deal more than 5,000 damage on attack, that's quite doable as well. But probably in something like Fire Lightning, you're probably going to do it out of Restrictor. But he's pretty good. I'm looking forward to playing with this card and just trying some things out with it. But anybody got anything to add with this one?
I want to see what it does in Cloud Pod. But being able to just, I know 6 drops aren't great, like ideal targets for the Cloud Pod, but being able to get 2 forwards for the price of 1 out of it, I think is going to be a lot of value.
You really want to turn him into a Genesis Avatar, right?
Oh hell yeah!
It doesn't have to be a Cat 7 6 drop, though, does it?
It has to be the Cat 7 that you sack off.
No,
the
sure,
forward you
sure.
bring from deck could be anything.
So well, it is a good thing that they banned Althea right before this came out. So that would have been funny.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
Right, so let's see what we've got next. Samurai! All the crystal backups are getting a reprint. Nothing to say, but they're great. And they're all the same ones as before. So if you didn't get foils of the last ones, you'd get foils of these ones.
L3 inbound.
Yeah, definitely. And L6, I suppose. That's probably the reason that they were reprinted, right? Because that was going to be going out before long. They're great. All of them are solid. All of them saw play. All of them have great names. There's not really too much to say there. Jacked. Oh.
Do you want your BFA for free?
It's not for free. You got to play a bad 5CP 9k forward that doesn't do anything and has to die for you to get it from deck.
Oh
because
wait,
it has
never
to be
mind
there.
then.
And then you magic pot it to get another Jacked out and your BFA at the same time.
I think you're probably better off getting the
Broken.
demon than you are BFA.
Yeah.
If it's in the deck, which you can't make sure happen, rubbish. Move on. Anybody got anything positive to say about this other than the art's sort of nice?
All I was going to say was the artwork. Yeah.
Guardian. There's that.
Anyway, Goldsmith. When Goldsmith enters the field, choose 1 forward. Until the end of the turn, it gains 3,000 power and brave. And then the same again by dulling and breaking it. It's not called
Is there a
Samurai.
samurai backup that already does this? Yeah.
I was about to say that. Wasn't there not a samurai backup that did this?
Yeah, so there's no reason really to do this over that, is there?
One is irrelevant.
Well, I think the
Name.
samurai backup you had to get to damage 5, I think, through the second effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Good sealed card.
Yeah, no. Culinarian. Okay, so all of these backups are in every element, and if you control 3 of that element, 3 backups of that element, this becomes free.
Meh.
I think they're all bad. They're all category 14. None of them have relevant names. Standard unit backups aren't searchable. Yeah, I think
My biggest gripe is that they require mono backups. Like if it was, if you could if you control 3 or more backups and they become free, then it makes color fixing potentially interesting.
I think
But you can only play these in mono decks, so there's no point.
I think the only two, I think with the way that the first couple of turns work with mono wind, you can definitely play the wind one as your 4th or 5th backup fairly reliably. I would also have said the same of mono water when we had Sildra. You probably would play the water one because it just would be free, and it would have loved that. But as far as fire goes, you would rather draw a card than get something for free. So you wouldn't replace, say, Geomancer for something like this.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, not really too much else to say. They look like they're great, but there's a bigger cost than they look. Tifa. Right, I'm going to say it right now. This card here is the one that I'm most excited about in the entire set, I think. It's a power crept retrain of Opus 1 Tifa by having 1,000 more power than that one. Still haste, but it also says when a category 7 character you control deals damage to a forward your opponent controls, choose one forward, it gains this forward cannot block until the end of the turn. And for S, fire, and 1 anything, it will deal 1 forward 8,000 damage. So it's sort of like the first Opus 1, the 2 Opus 1 Tifas and the Opus 2 Tifa in one place. The first thing we've all thought of was using this with the Opus 8 Yuffie, who is a 2CP 5k, but has haste if you control 3 or more FF7 characters, and 2k, but on attack deals 1k to board, but which with this Tifa means that nothing's blocking. I love it. I think this is an incredible card, and I think this is better than the Legend by far. Anybody else?
I mean, there's nothing really more to add here.
The only problem I wish there was a way of making the Yuffie have haste easier.
No, you've got this and 1 backup. That's it.
But you need to attack with the Yuffie.
Yeah, but all you need is 3 characters, and it includes herself.
Well, for the Yuffie to gain haste?
Yeah.
Oh, is that it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Fair enough then, never mind.
Do you play 4CP Zach with this as well?
Have been considering it.
Or do you just stick with?
But I don't think you need anything that expensive and slow, really, when the rest of the stuff is just going to ram through.
Yeah.
But job isn't particularly necessary because you're not going to replace the Fire Earth one, but it probably doesn't go in that deck. But it easily could, I suppose, as your 4th Tifa for Avalanche. Probably more than the 1 CP would. There's a lot of good stuff with this. You can search it with Elf. You can search it with Zangan. So you can easily pull this out of the deck whenever you want to.
And then you search it with the 4-drop Cloud as well, which will be the card which deals with the threats that you can't quite sneak under.
I think it's Light Cloud, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so the Light Cloud, again, yeah, exactly. So if anything that they can't deal damage to, he will just say, cool, 3 CP and mill 7 from game, get rid of that, and now the others run through. So, there's a really good chance that you can win the game in 3-4 turns with this. I think it's good. What have we got next? Morrow. This isn't good.
No, pass.
Yeah, next.
Nothing to say here. Nice artwork.
Yep.
Bad warp. If this would actually be playable if it said when Morrow enters the field due to an ability. But it doesn't. So let's just move on. Barrett, which is sort of a retrain of the starter one from Opus 11, which I've always been a big fan of. I think that card is really good, and this is almost the same thing. I'm not sure which one's better because the other one counted backups, whereas this needs forwards, but it deals more damage. I think this is probably worth a look in as well. I think the S effect is pretty solid. Again, there's not really too much to say about it. It's worth trying. If people think that this is a bad card, it's probably because it doesn't go in the sort of deck that they think or that they used to. It's not trying to compete with dual element Barrett or pretty much anything with Earth anyway. If you can run fire and something else in a FF7 deck, this is probably one of the ones you want to go to.
Potentially looking at backup Jesse as well to make this cost 2.
Yes, but then you're moving into Fire Earth as well. So
I don't think that's a problem though, because stereotypically a FF7 mid-range deck is usually being Fire Earth, right?
Yeah, sure. And again, in that I've always run a Tifa, Cloud, and Barrett, usually at 4 or 5 each. So again, this could easily be the other one. I'll be getting my foils 100%. Palom. Palom's pretty great.
I think this card is phenomenal.
Mm.
Genuinely really good.
Take us through it then, Jacob.
Well, I think especially with the other poem, which we haven't quite gotten to yet, but it does tie into someone in chat has asked if we think Final Fantasy 4 decks are going to be good this set. Very briefly, yes, I do. Personally, I think this card it's similar to Robber Lackbell, where you pay for a forward and you pay a crystal to break a thing. Obviously, this isn't going to kill everything it's going to want to break, but it also costs half as much. And then, as I said, we'll get to the new Porom, which is when it enters, you discard a 4 forward to draw and gain a crystal. But this can sack off the Palom and a Porom. It just says card name Porom, can be any Porom to deal a forward 10k damage. So the fact that you don't have to play the new Porom, I think you play these two in the 4 deck. But if you were playing any other Firewall to maybe kind of summons deck, then you could very, very easily run the little 2-cost Porom EX burst that gets you a summon back. You play it down, and then you can stack them both off, deal a forward 10k, and get a summon back from your break zone, which I think is some absolutely insane value. It's also instant speed. Do it on your opponent's turn at any point you want, block, and then do it. Massive threat comes down that you need to kill on sight. Just get rid of it for essentially 4 CP.
Personally, I wasn't massively taken with the Porom in this set at all, but I think as well the fact that it could be a backup, or like you say with Opus 9 summon Porom, that's broken. Getting a summon back and dealing something 10k, yeah, absolutely. Big fan of this, especially if the summon that you get back is something like Phoenix, which means you're just going to go again.
I was just about to ask if that was a possible loop, but thanks for answering already.
Yeah. It's cool. I don't think, as far as calling it a 4 card, it matters so much because of it being a wind thing. But I think this is probably going to be one that we're going to find full arts for.
If anyone gets full art, I would very much like it. But specifically with the 4 thing, I think now, obviously, with the main 4 deck is going to be sort of the Gold Edge Archfiend stuff. And you used to run the light Cecil because it gave them all Brave. But I think you can now run the new Water Cecil as your main Cecil, and that cares a lot about crystals. So I think because that is generating your crystals, that means it's going to be relatively easy to be able to get the 8k ping off with this Palom.
And Rosa means that you can easily play the Fire CP as well.
Yeah, so you don't care about color facing because the new Rosa is absolutely broken. And then that's the same again with the new Porom, because you can just kind of cycle a card, and it's almost guaranteed to be a 4 card. You're going to get that crystal back, and then you're going to get that crystal either to do Palom's effect or to do the new Water Cecil's effect, which I think that new Water Cecil we will get to in a moment. Also, absolutely insanely good.
I think it's probably going to be a few more moments, actually, with the way that this is going.
Very, very true. We're not even out of fire yet.
Phoenix. There's not really too much to say about this. It reminds me of Two-Headed Dragon, which was okay. Problem being that monsters are massively untouchable in fire, but all the text is good.
Not much to say. It's a good card.
It's a good card. I'm not sure if it's a great card, but it's something to. My favorite. What I love about cards like this specifically is it doesn't say fire on it. It doesn't say remove 4 fire cards. It doesn't say anything particularly like it's got to be paid for in a certain way. You can play this quite happily. And again, the fire decks that you play something like this in don't care about your break zone anyway, so rinsing through 4 cards to do that. Being a 4-cost monster means that it's really hard to remove for your opponent. It's good. Great power, great ability. Move on. Hedgehog Pie.
Goblin version too, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely run this with Goblin. I'm as somebody who massively disliked the Goblin engine, I think that this managing to take so many cards out, but make that go a bit further is really, really solid. I'm a big fan of this card. One I'd love to play with. Anybody else particularly got strong feelings on Hedgehog Pie?
It's another way to target Megissa.
Yeah,
Accurate.
it definitely is.
It's also just a sack outlet if there's anything you want to die for a reason. Especially with some of the new. Obviously, we've got a new mirror coming out very very soon. I don't know if this goes in that deck, but there's going to be a lot of monster stuff, which I think is to be explored this set.
It is.
But also, you don't need to splurge them more. The thing with the goblins is often if you're going to have to use all the goblins to kill something, you have to use all the goblins to kill it. Whereas with these, you can, if 2 of these will kill a warrior of light, and 3 goblins won't even kill a warrior of light, right?
For anybody playing in pre-release for sealed events, this does work with Tifa because it's a Cat 7, which means that you can say that forward cannot block and then win the game.
Well, that's it. You can take it as far as you want it to go. Like, you can get all 3 of them out the deck in one go if you so need, or you can just play the one and not search. If you're dealing with
and you don't have to discard a fire card to search.
That's what I wanted to say, yeah. Because with goblins, you want to play modifier usually to make sure you have the 1 CP to play the goblin, but not with this card.
Does that mean Fire can finally play Chaos Arc now?
Why? Because we can discard the dead ones.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Mont Blanc, 2CB backup Moogle. When Mont Blanc enters the field, choose one forward. Deal it 5,000 damage. If you control 5 or more fire characters, deal it 8,000 damage instead. For me, this is
Nothing
a big
wrong with
pass.
That's fine. I like it.
For me, this needs EX Burst to be playable. It's exactly why I didn't like Ace, and I did like and I did like Vivi, but it's not particularly exciting. And again, it's those problems that I have with Fire, that the numbers are 5,000 and 8,000. So
8,000's fine on a 2CP backup. And in the decks this is going in, you're going to be wanting to get to 5 characters or Megissa, but let's say in the context of a tempo fire deck, you're wanting to get to 5 backups, so all your things become cheaper and you can play certain scenarios out. So you're going to get your 5 characters, so it's going to be hitting for 8.
I think the problem I have as well, that if they said characters and not fire characters, I'd be all over it. But that means that it's not playable as a Moogle. So, yeah.
I mean, just compare this to Elvis, right? Elvis, same cost, but it's got EX burst and kills basically anything on entry. This does 5k, unless you're playing mono and it's the 5th backup. So,
yeah, exactly that. Big pass for me. Nice full art. Don't worry, it will be less than a tenner in no time. Red
this set's
13.
got a lot of good full arts, though.
Oh, definitely.
A lot of good.
Red 13. I think this card is okay. I really don't have too much to say to it. Red 13 doesn't kind of get short shrift in this. But with the sort of Tifa deck and a build that I've got, I'm trying one of these at the moment. He'll almost definitely have haste. He's overcosted, so it's another way to rush in with Yuffie, Tifa, and then something else to deal easy damage. But it's not massively exciting, but I do think the card's all right. Oh, ice. Okay. So I'm not the expert with this, so I will leave ice cards mainly to Jacko and Connor here. But let's not waste our time. This is definitely pack fluff that you probably wouldn't even play in draft.
Yeah, it's getting it in. As does the next card.
So yeah, again, we've basically talked about this as well.
Yeah.
Calbrainer.
Oh yes. Okay. Nice. This is a good card. This is a good card. I like what they've added with ice cards with back attack. It kind of compensates for ice having shocking summons.
It confirms you're never getting any good summons.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, yeah, I like that you've got one for abilities and one for summons. So like I said, I think they kind of both see play as a result, because there'll be certain matchups where the summon one won't really be able to do much. Yeah, the only thing with this card is, don't get me wrong, the card is amazing and it'd probably broken if it was 8k, but if it was 8k, it's just a really nice answer to a lot of problem things. So this is a protective card, right? But there's not that many 7 like K power things you want to protect. There's a lot of 8K power things like Terra, Orphan, Sephiroth. And so, you know, those things you could be getting shot for 8K. And if Calbrina, my prime example I'm thinking of is Sabin from Cat 6. If Calbrina was like an 8K, it would be a really nice answer that wouldn't necessarily be broken because like Calbrina would die as well. That's like my only thing. That's probably me wishing too much for a card that's already very good.
But in that instance, Calibrainer would still deal 8k because it's been dealt 8k. So it's always trading up.
No, it deals damage equal to Calbrina's power.
Oh, did I misread that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool then.
Try and
So-
check.
That was my only gripe with it was that I don't know if it would have, I think it would have made a big difference if it was 8K, and I don't think it would have been broken if it was, but I still think it is good. I still think
The
it
fact
is. And it will see-
the fact that it's like a really cool 2-for-1 though is just yeah.
Yeah, on small things. Yeah, for sure. Like you can, like if someone's got like a whiteboard of like small things that they're trying to snipe in, and you just flash this in, block a small one, and then use her power to kill something else.
A worse card would have the damage go both ways.
Yeah.
I think the only issue with this and the other one is that the way ice has been dealt with at the moment, it's all aggro. So this is like ice, earth, or nothing, because that's the only slow, control-y ice deck there is.
That's probably fine.
And I
though,
don't
isn't
think
it?
I don't think ice earth has a space for it at the moment.
I mean, I suppose it's a nice little combination with like 2CP Hecatoncheir. Tagged in a couple small things. That's another 2-for-1 you could get out of it, I guess.
Yeah. No, absolutely the case. I don't know. I think as far as Earth Ice goes, it's not an incredible deck as it is at the moment, and there's a lot of wiggle room to try and get new things in. I think that this is absolutely going to see competitive play, and if this is the sort of thing that Ice is going to have going forward with lots of back attack, bring it on. They could do with it. There's very few decks that this wouldn't go in. So no, I'm pretty happy with this one.
And this is the kind of card that will pop back up later down the line, I think, as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
Juggler. He's got a back attack backup for 2CP is pretty good no matter what anyway. Even if the effect is just sort of alright.
But but TCB back attack backups are only really good for like going second. And I think for this card to have seen play, it should have said when it enters the field, choose one character, freeze it. Would have been so good. You go.
That would have been good.
And that's the only way I think this card would have seen play, because they go first, they play backup, end of their turn, you play him, freeze their backup, and then you can play an uncosted thing. But outside of that, I don't think this sees play, so I think we can just move on.
Edward, he's pretty good.
Juggling Bard. We didn't want him as a
not
king.
a king.
We've only had the one King Edward, though.
Yeah, exactly.
He shouldn't be a king at this stage, to be fair. I am surprised it's not Bard/Prince.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, it would have been nice then, because there's no ice 2CP. There's no 2CP ice backup because
That's
so
the issue.
power. And the King Edward, which is 4CP, is the only one, and even that card is not very good.
But again, this is killing a guy for 2 is pretty good. It'd be nice if
Yeah,
this
yeah.
had back attack.
Can be
Yeah.
hit one with Harley as well.
But giving any X burst to make sure that something pretty much dies, it's pretty good.
I think the fact it has the X burst means it'll see play. I think if it didn't have the X burst, I don't think I'd just leave it. But I'm as tempted because Ice has never historically had amazing EX bursts. Because the problem is with this, obviously, people have a window to reactivate, but if they hit on the X, then they don't have that window. I think it's balanced, and I think it will see play.
I still don't like the fact that they have to print multiple deficits to ice cards. This must choose a dull forward, and your opponent must have 2 or more dull forwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
2
if you think
deficits on
about the stuff that you have at the moment as well, like that is still going. If you're playing against, say, Cat 13, which is going to have 2 dull forwards very early in the game, then you're going to take out Lightning really quickly, which Ice needs ways to do that anyway. And that doesn't mean as well that you can't just do it more than one time, and the next turn, if it's Ice Lightning or something, play the Sephiroth or something. I don't know. It's definitely worth testing. I think it could absolutely see play. Genesis will not.
Nope.
See you later.
I cry.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the Opus 4 one was the best card in the game?
Opus 3.
So many people tried to get it banned.
Yeah. Well, it was good at the time. I never thought it was bannable, but it's it was good. It was Connor's favorite card for a long time.
I mean, it's still one of my favorite cards in the game that we've ever had.
Yeah, I think so. Same with me. Still got my.
Crisis Core was the game that got me to Final Fantasy as well.
Oh, don't! People can hear you say that. Don't say that.
Did you enjoy the remake?
Yeah. Didn't play it, but yeah, I like the memories I've got. I'll leave it at that. But this is not one for the memories. This is for the bin.
Yeah. Cisne, we've talked about this to death. This was our spoiler. It's great for practically every reason. It's a 2 CP backup. It's a Turks. It's in ice. It's very searchable. It's got a great category. It's got a great ability. We've sort of covered this to death at this point. We've got an entire video on it. But it's great.
Yeah. I agree.
The fact that it says character and not forward.
Yeah, definitely. Jill in the Butt is something that you cannot even play in draft, and you can't play it in sealed because you cannot play in mono ice. And in anything that will play mono ice, it wouldn't have this. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Nothing to say here. Setzer, James, would you like to lead on this one?
This is my favourite card in the set.
Wow, this one over the Lock and the Celeste.
Yes, because this is what brings it all together completely. The party attack is the most relevant form of party attack that we have, that we've seen up to this point. Because, I mean, the reason that parties were never so keen is because you're losing outs on the point of damage, and Lock gives you that. The problem with Lock is you say Lock, you say Celeste, and then you immediately start running out of ice forwards to go with it. So the fact that this says any can form a party with any, Celeste is absolutely busted with this. On top of, with the character doll freeze, you can freeze another 2, so you're potentially freezing 3 out, or you're getting back any one of your characters, an Edgar or a Sabin, whoever you need at the time. The fact that this can't be searched is what's stopping this deck being tier 0.
You're going to have an expensive time this set, both you and
yeah.
This might be my favourite for this set. No joke, it's so pretty.
He's a gangster, and do you know what, the fact that this has managed to kick the EX add back out of the deck shows how good this is.
Yeah, that's something that I'm not sure about yet. I would love to be convinced, but I'm not sure. But yeah, expensive time for 6 players.
No, you play this set, man. This set's so good. There was a point towards the end of the last set where, having seen the lot that was coming, that I was thinking, okay, if you're going to try and do big parties, ice is, you're probably more likely to have more Cat 6 ice than fire. And I was literally looking at putting things like Ghost and all these things, and I saw this card and I was just like, oh my god, yes. So yeah. But don't listen to Kitty, the card's trash, you should give me all your full arts next.
Oh, fair enough.
Speaking of which,
yeah, I know, she's got a split in her trousers.
It's the meme. It's the meme. Is this 2 CP?
Yeah, it literally is.
Oh god, I can't unsee that now. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so new Celeste. Right, every line on this is really good, but my problem is that every line on the Opus 15 one is also really, really good. Can you?
Yeah, this is a headache. This is a headache. The honest answer is I don't know. This is actually going to require some testing.
I think
Yeah.
this might go in more other decks than the Celeste we already have. You already do have haste in Fire Ice Cat 6.
With
But-
Interceptor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's tough because this is an excellent card.
Yeah, I do think you can play both. It's just what ratio you play of both. And my
So this
current
one is good late
inclination
game, the old one is good early
my
game.
current inclination is 3 of the Opus 15 and 1 of this one. Because this is like your going for the win. She comes down, doles the board. She's hopefully got haste, or is coming down with something else that's got haste. And but the other one I think gets you to the end game better than this one does.
The other one also has a permanent target on its back because your opponent cannot let it live while the threat of the party is there. They have to kill it, and they can't just dull and freeze it because you play Sablin that has the reactivation. This one doesn't have the target on its back.
You've got to also, I think, as someone whose favourite card in the game is Ixion, you've got to be careful about losing too much to something like that as well, which is entirely possible.
I don't think you do, because I think you cut the 2 CP Mario out of the deck now, and this is your only 2 CP card in Cat 6, really.
Well, I mean, it will get 3s as well, because you're gonna go straight up on that, which means you're gonna get Go-Go, you're gonna get
Is there space for Go-Go now? It's
I
getting
think
tight.
Yeah, I think Go-Go can almost be cut down to 2, But yeah, that's a different topic. For the time being, this card's good.
Soldier 3rd class, yeah.
This card's
It's a third class card.
Yep.
In Pod, it replaces itself, which is cool.
It does have the fire one. It's brother.
Is that a third class? Is that not first class?
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah,
third. It is
I
third.
thought it was first class, and Kitty told me otherwise.
Has it got a colon in it as well, or is the colon?
Yeah,
Are we really getting it? Right, right.
I'm not checking for anyone's colon tonight, mate.
Soldier colon. No, it does have the colon.
Not the same name, because the colon is in the name.
It's the same card.
Oh, we have to get that checked. That's hilarious.
Get the colon checked.
Honestly, if I'm judging on that, I'm ruling it. They're not the same name.
Yeah,
They both have colon.
I think there's no. You don't accidentally put a colon in. That colon has been put in on purpose, I think.
Right, on
No,
Twitter right
the
now.
colon's on both, isn't it?
Or it's
Well, either way, it's not going to see play.
Also, why are we wasting time talking about
yeah, I was
Move
going
on.
to say that before you pulled this out. But Cerulean Drake, 1 CP monster, choose one forward, freeze it, which is even yours if that's the only one that's on the field. Dull him and break him, dull a forward, and ice to dull. Couldn't have put it any better myself, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, yawn. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
It sucks. You can't search it. Well, not really easily. It's bad.
It's not worth searching.
It's a 7 character. You search it with the light cloud if you want.
No.
Sorry, Mr. Shinra. I'm searching that instead.
Terra, which again
bro.
is a cool. There's everything on this is great text, especially with all the new stuff. But as far as Fire Ice 6 goes at the moment, it doesn't really fit in that because you don't play any summons. But it
She's
absolutely
also
could
got a
see
big
play.
4 in the top left. She needs to
I
be
mean,
3
the-
CP.
There technically now is a playable 6 summon, which we'll get to later.
Not
No.
The unicorn in the wrong element.
or yeah, Fenrir as well, but you don't have 1 CP, so it's no good.
I don't like it.
Nah, I don't like it.
No,
There's already a 4 CP 8K Terror that just based around summons that is busted that still doesn't see that much play.
yeah, sorry, Terra.
Like, why in what world are you running this over Legend Terror?
Or the backup Terra for that matter.
So you can't drop the backup terror. You're already looking at, not that many backups in the deck already. You kind of want to keep the ones you got.
Yeah.
Right, number 24.
What's your number? You're a free man.
That famous boss battle.
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
I actually quite like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually quite like it. I mean, yes, it gets like dull corrosion and can get killed quite easy as a 3CP, but it's also a 3CP 9k
Yeah.
that is just a blocker. Like, you can just sit there with his barrier counters and like it protects combat damage. And they can keep the counters off it so it doesn't ever get to 3. And even if it does get to 3, Sabin can reactivate it in Cat 6. So, yeah, I think it sees play as a one of at least in the deck. Yeah.
James?
It does nothing, but it's big. So, if I'm playing it with a lock, sure. But I don't know. I'm definitely not as hyped as Sam is, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. I look at this and I look at Mog 6 and I just think Mog 6 is just the better one.
I look at this and I see Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Bart Simpson. Mateus, Jacko, you and Fish talked a bit about this the other day. It's pretty great. Connor, you're a big fan of this one, right?
Oh, it's a good ice summon. Finally. I mean, it removes itself. You can't abuse it, but yeah, I think this is like ice lightning all over it, right?
Yeah, definitely. This and like say, well, to be honest, it goes really well with the Turks, and it goes amazingly well with Zeromus.
Yeah.
It's solid. There's not really too much you can say about that. You can't use it over and over again, which is a real problem. So there's no way to recur it. So, well,
it's so cheap though.
Yeah.
For what it does,
also,
it is so cheap.
Well, also it works in mono because you can Shantoto trap from your hand the dollar board. You know, I know no one wants to play mono anymore except me, but it does work. Yeah.
Mono ice is
it's
good.
A great.
You've made it good, man.
It's a great follow up to Vincent as well. Freeze 3 and then freeze 3 again.
Yeah. True.
If your opponent's not playing wind, they're real trouble.
If you're playing like the 4-color wall deck and they finally get down their Tyro or their Thornton as their 5th backup, you just tell them that they can't play Warrior of Light for at least a turn.
Yeah,
that's
good.
It's good. Wicked Mask.
This is the better of the back attacks.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Connor. I think this one's better.
Yeah, the fact there's a monster that becomes a forward instead of just straightforward, way better.
Yeah, it dodges a lot of removal because of that, but also I think there's more applications on because with the Calbrina you have to change the target goes to Calbrina, right? Whereas Wicked Mask, you can, someone tries to Kusith the one thing they need, and you go, actually, I'm going to make you Kusith this backup you've already got on the field.
Calbrina's removal, though.
But this can redirect a removal spell of your opponent.
Yeah, most summons that it's targeting will be removal. So you're essentially making it removal on your opponent's own forward. It's also, as a 3-cost monster, it's a Larcaicus target, so it's not dead even as discard fodder.
Oh, true.
It does have a narrower window of targets than Calbrina does.
Yeah. But this is the thing. I think there's a world in which you play both, right? Because one is summon based, one is ability based. So I think having at least one of each is enough to have people thinking, if you've got CP open, you're thinking, crap, okay, which one have they got in the hand? Have they got the mask or have they got the Calbrina?
Or both.
Just I remember when I played Mono Ice, towards the end of it's kind of like main life. Is the Sid Allstein, I'd end up running just the one in the deck because as soon as my opponent sees it go to discard or whatever, they're constantly like thinking about another one coming up.
Yeah.
Didn't have another one in my deck, but they were always playing around it because they had to.
Solid. I like it. So the Turks. We've spoken about these a little bit on stream elsewhere as well, but they are pretty good. I'm coming around to this Rude quite a lot, only because if you can, on Reno's attack, so which I suppose you've got to sort both of them at the same time, you can play this guy, which means that you get a dull and freeze on a forward in the battle phase, which is crazy. I don't have CP from backups to cast him, but I don't think you're going to. To be honest with you, playing the Lightning Rude, you have Sung and you have Reno, which is just never going to happen anyway.
I was going to say, like, surely you're not going to be worried about one dull and freeze when the Lightning Root gives, like, full dull entering combat, right?
But not if you play him off of the Reno.
Yeah,
that's just the trigger.
True, but I mean, surely the effect is worth not doing that.
I think you can play at least like a mix because you're not bothered by playing a mix because you want them in your break zone at the end of the day to make your Rufuses cost.
Sure.
And two of them have S effects. And two of them have S effects, which are really cheap.
So I guess with that in mind, it's probably worth talking about Reno before we get to Rufus. So anything in Ice that says pay 1 and it has haste on a 3CP7K is worth looking at. And especially if it's something that can play another forward straight on the top of that. It's
an extra bit of value that Ice isn't necessarily renowned for. Like playing anything from deck is just really good in any deck.
I did wish it would say or hand.
Yeah.
Just means you got to run a lot of them.
But I think even if it was, I think it's just a 3-3-3 line.
The only thing that we were considering trying before was to say, does that mean that Rude is the backup Rude? But this only does play a forward, so that's completely out because otherwise that makes this one almost completely pointless. But they're both solid cards. I can't wait to play around with Ice Lightning in that with Rufus, who is excellent.
Mental.
I think even if you play this early, like even play this turn 1, like it just like make your opponent discard 1. That's pretty having to come back from that is just crazy. It's just especially playing it dulling and freezing a forward, and then like all of these triggers can be on attack as well. So the cool thing being as well is that like if you manage to even give like Rufus haste, or he can basically you can have say like Reno or Rude use their S effect, and then Rufus can attack and they can use their S effect again just by getting back one of the Turks from the break zone. It's so malleable and there's so much that it can do. I'm incredibly excited to play with this.
Yeah, and I almost think that the more I think about it, the less I like them in like a big Turk deck. Because I think the problem if you run a big Ice Lightning Turk deck is that by the time you've put all the Turks in, and you've put it in the Ice Lightning staples like Sephiroth, Lightning, Alcid, Zeramus, you haven't really got room for anything else. You're basically playing a mono character deck, which is like all forwards and backups.
Do you need that? Anything else there?
But that's what I think. I don't think you should do that. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but
I think.
Do you need anything other than that? Because you're playing that means that every forward that you're playing is really powerful, really strong.
Yeah, I don't know if that is the route to go though. With it,
I think it's just a 3-3 engine most ice decks.
Yeah,
you can still play President Shinra and Cisne regardless.
Well, in that stage, if that stage, the only one that you're not playing is Sung. Like I could see like a way to not playing Legendary Turk, but there's almost no reason not to run Sung if you're playing the Lightning stuff as well, because that just means that you've got other ways of cheating these into play. I think maybe Legendary Turk and Elena might not be worth it so much now, but I don't know. There's still a lot that's good off of these.
Yeah.
Next we have Lock. Right. Okay. A top searcher that costs 3 with an EX. That's enough for a legend.
Yeah, this card's so good. Man.
It's good. It's good.
It's
The
just-
difficulty is figuring out the ratios. It's the same with Celeste.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with Kitty on this. We had a chat earlier today about the 6 deck and kind of where we think it's going. Because I still think you have to play some of the 5 CP, but you've got to be playing at least 2 copies of this Lock because it's
Busted.
2-2.
so good. Well, that's what we've kind of agreed for the time being, at least for testing, is that we think probably 2-2 because you set up with 5 CP Lock. Because there's enough ways you're probably playing 3 CP of the 3 copies of the 4 CP Celeste, and you're playing 3 Empire Sid. There's enough ways that you can see the 5 CP one early, and then have this one like draw into this one later, or even search it later off like later Celestes. So, and the main thing is that the whole deck is now going towards parties, and this is like the bow on top that holds it all together because you lose that negativity of only getting 1 point of damage with the party attack. It's basically partying without actually partying. You might as well have attacked with 2 separate things because he's going to do a point of damage and then the party's going through. So anything, but also anything that can just deal a point of damage as well is the fact that you can have your opponent at 6 points of damage, and then out of nowhere, if they've had to splurge the hand to like clear your board to save them dying, and then you just literally play this Lock and play the new Celeste, they've both got haste, and even if they've got a blocker, you can party attack and deal the last point of damage.
That's it. Assuming they haven't removed your break zone, you top deck an Edgar and you win the game on the spot.
Yeah, there's just so many ways that this card can be busted that I love the artwork as a full art. It's going to be stunning.
This one.
I will say, chances are, if you're partying with 4, you've probably already won the game.
Yeah, I think it's not like, you know, you can play Cyan and give them all brave. There's definitely instances where you can, or you can party with all of them, and you've already got Sabin ways to reactivate everything as well. So like it's.
And then you chuck Mog 6 in there, and that party and every subsequent party's first strike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your opponent's just not going to be able to stand up to that combat power.
And if you got a Celeste in there, you can freeze 2 of their backups as part of the party. It's just and sets the dog freeze another backup. Like you clear all their forwards and you freeze 3 backups. Like you just handshake and bound, right?
Shame this deck can't run Noctis, but you don't want anything that isn't 6.
Yeah, definitely. So that's it. We're into Wind. Brother, he's pretty good.
Why have they made him so ragingly you know?
No.
No, we don't.
What?
Tell us more.
For lack of better terms, he's showing a lot of bravado in his stance. You know, it's a very interesting choice of artwork. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway, Edge as a legend. I don't quite see it, if I'm honest. I think it's okay. I think everything it does is okay. I don't think it goes in current Wind decks. It doesn't massively go in 4 decks. It doesn't go in Ninja decks. I don't get it. Is anyone particularly excited for this one?
Could be sad stuff with Prushi.
Yeah.
I would have liked it if it could have been played during either player's turn.
Sure.
Then it could have been really something. Because if you play it off the crystal, you only get one of the effects, not the 3.
Sure. Yeah. Not really too much to say. It's as a legend.
I think a haster that you can play out of your break zone is definitely something that's worth bearing in mind. It's something you've got to be thinking about, right? Like, but I agree. I actually didn't realize this was a legend. I had to go back to Wind to try and find the legend.
Where does Wind get the crystals generation from, though?
But this is the thing. I think it's why people are finding this card hard to, because it's not a typical Wind. I think the card is good, but it's just not a classic Wind card. But I just don't know. I don't know where.
Crystals in 4?
Yeah.
You have the
Yeah,
Edge legend, not the Kane legend, which is the 2-drop, which you give to your opponent if you don't control a crystal. Like,
We
it's
have
just
somebody.
doing some weird
We
full
have somebody
crystal
in
thing.
chat. Sorry, that's just I've missed on before saying, does Ghost make its way into Cat 6 now?
Honestly, no. Just because of the sheer space, it's so low on the priority list that there's just not to say that it's not the worst cards in the world, but you've already got so much that you need to play anyway.
You also don't cast it, so you don't get the lock effect. So
Yeah, that's it, 'cause you-
probably move on from Edge though. Not too much to say here.
Just a real sad day for Wind Legends.
Botanist. Oh yeah, like they needed a good day for it. Botanist is a really interesting card that I think is one to it's one to bear in mind, but I don't think it is. I don't think I can't think of anything particularly great about it at the moment. Maybe to play
The only
Une.
thing, the only thing I can think of is in maybe a mono wind or wind dice where it's like remove Nostal and play a Chocolate if you needed the room or something like that. I guess.
It's the part that it plays it from hand. Like, if this played from deck, it would have been fantastic.
I would also been busted though. I'm sorry, I would have been busted.
Even if it cost one more or something, anything like that. It's like, it's the fact that you have to have the card already in hand as well as this card, and you're not running multiple of these, are you?
Yeah, but do you remember when Chocobo Summon, the 2CP play it, bounce forward, draw card was released? Didn't really see that much play, and then about 4 sets later, it became the most broken card ever.
Yeah.
Like, I think Botanist has a chance of being one of that, because at the moment the cards, you're basically looking for high CP backups that don't do anything on entry, and at the moment Une is like the only really good card for that.
Opus 1 Lulu, mate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Une is like the only good card that's like,
You're 5 Doga. I think that card still has potential.
yeah, and too bad Doga's a good shout. But I think the problem is, I think there's still enough ways of destroying high-costed backups around that.
And we're about to see one.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the chat that the new Water Cecil gives you gain a crystal every time you play a 4, so it means the Edge is somewhat undying.
Okay, that's pretty. I mean, that is nice, but I think Mist Dragon also exists. So
It's good and it's cute and it's probably L3.
I don't know. I think there is probably a good 4 deck out there. I just don't know what it is.
Ghost 7. When it enters, deal something 3k, which is bad, and then for 1 tap and remove it from the game, you can flicker a monster, which is sort of cool.
They seem to have. We'll get obviously with the lightning stuff in a bit. That it seemed to be a lot more of the old wind lightning kind of deal a little bit of damage to something, get value off of it. A little bit in this set, I've found.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something they want to bring back, but I mean, I'm not against it. I thought that was really fun.
I'm pretty happy with the idea that you can flicker Typhon's pretty good.
Cerberus is pretty good.
Lots of good things you can do with that. Does it make the cut? For my taste, probably not.
No, it's not.
Not on its own.
Definitely one to bear in mind for the future, I think, though.
Flicker or Schrodinger.
Geneva Dreamweaver, I think, is absolutely terrible for a hero. 2CP 7k is okay. Cannot be chosen by summons is really good because it can't be hit by Rama. But you can only let's say on when it attacks, you can search for one card named Geneva Dreamweaver and remove it from the game. You deal 7,000 damage to all forwards opponent controls. You can only do it once per turn, but that means that the other ones have to be in deck, and you just cannot make that happen.
It's not impossible with wind. You do play wall troll and such things.
But that you can only do this a maximum of 2 times a game. Anyway.
Yeah, there's just not a deck for this to go in.
Just wind doesn't need it.
Well, I suppose if you're playing with Tifa and Fire Wind, it is doable. But again,
yeah, no,
easier
wind
ways.
doesn't need it.
Yeah.
It got a couple other cards this set, which board wipe a bit better.
Stiltskin is crazy.
Absolutely nuts. This card is great.
If you control card named Chelinka and Yuri, they both gain 2k. Crazy.
If one dies, the other loses it. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're
That's
both
what-
going to
that's
be
what
like
if you
9 and
control
10k,
and-
so...
I said, if you run, I genuinely think if you run the 4CP one from Opus 18, I think it was,
Yeah.
then it becomes a 10k that can't be targeted with pseudo brave on attack because it activates 2 FFCC characters. That's
If you have a
vile.
Chelinka.
Well,
You
yeah,
can play
you
You
either
can play backup Chelinka.
okay, yeah, you either play the one where you discard to guarantee it from deck, or you just play the backup Chelinka, and then you constantly just have a 10k brave
Illyria
untargetable.
searches card name, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, that's solid. Good stuff. I like the fact that we're seeing like a mid-rangey sort of win thing again. This would be the Chelinka that you're talking of. So when Chelinka enters the field and may discard 1 card, when you do so, search for 1 card named Yuri of cost 4 or less and play it onto the field. What? Crazy.
Yeah. Tempo on a stick.
And then when she forms a party, the party becomes invincible. Crazy.
I think everyone this set has been getting search from deck and play on field.
Yeah.
Like most elements seem to have got that effect.
This is probably the biggest power creep set there's been so far.
Yeah.
For a while at least. There's not really too much more to say about that. I mean, it's just crazy. It's really good, and I'd love to see a sort of mid-range tempo wind that's not Storm.
It is
But I
funny
don't
how
think
both the Chelinka and Yuri, you kind of this set you don't want to play with each other.
Yeah, right. We haven't got Yuri yet. Chocobo, it's interesting, and it might be good for draft or something like that. So it gains 4k if its rider remains on the field.
Get your full arts of these.
Yeah, the full arts are beautiful.
But it's a cool card. It's not a constructed card.
Nah, 2 CP 9k just isn't enough.
Boss man.
Big Chungus.
Oh my
Upset.
god! Why did Win need this, man?
Yeah, but it's. I mean, you can do this for 1 CP off of what do you call him at the moment? Luso.
Luso.
It might be too expensive for Windex at the moment. It's pretty. Cool.
It's Luso cheat code. Like if you don't want to go through all the steps and just pay the extra cost, there you go.
This is Luso for the people that don't actually want to have to play Wind and sit and play solid power.
Do you like Wind but don't want to learn how to play it?
Yeah.
So we got the card for you.
Yeah.
But is this an Ice Win card? Because 5 backup Sid Hayes is this is 4k. Sorry, 4 cost.
Yeah. Sid Hayes
Yeah,
does
probably a better.
make this very enticing.
Because normally Icewind only wants to count to 3 and not 7. So like I think you're right. I think it's probably this is more. We'll see more play in Icewind than it will in Monowind.
Nash. Oh my god.
The reason Althea is banned.
I don't know about that, but anything that puts the
Hasn't helped.
the kibosh onto Thordan and Tyro and Rydia. Really
Why did it
giving
have to be FFCC?
right. I think that the first effect that makes it be able to break a backup of cost 5 or more is really good, but I think the second effect to just break any backup is much better, because that means that decks that play Princess Sarah are not getting her back.
Does this check cast number on resolution? So
Yes.
you could go Nostalen, play Nash, in response to targeting something with Nash, play a Chocobo to get your third cast, and then this will resolve.
Yeah, it's cards like
Not
this.
that I know why you do that, but
it's
yeah,
cards
I
like
suppose
this is
so.
why Mion is banned.
I mean, this card's kind of single-handedly somewhat changes the meta, because are you going to want to play a multicolour deck knowing that this is a possibility, and you are never going to play Warrior of Light that game?
Anything that puts that in check is definitely worth it, and this will 100% see play. 100%. No way that it doesn't. Yeah, I think so. And anything that puts more of a consideration on that, if that make also means that perhaps decks that play Rydia have to go back to playing the 3 CP Searcher. It's good. Yeah, I really rate this card. I can't believe I'm saying this well, that because of the concessions that it makes other decks take as well, I'm actually happy that this exists. So I can't believe I'm
like
saying that about
any card that any card that affects deck building is good.
I just don't
More
think it should
choice.
have been in Wind.
No,
Oh, yeah,
it
you can
absolutely
always
should
really
have been. What other thing would you have it in?
Well,
Yeah.
I think
It's,
that's the
it's
win.
more an Earth card, I would say, to begin with.
But every
Well, just-
archer has been in Wind.
See,
Mm.
just not CC, right? Like Wind of Norstalin, they have so many options they can pick and choose, and then there's a lot of elements out there, but I don't have anything.
I'll say it creates an interesting mind game in that, do you take the Nash expecting all these things, or do you think that people are going to be expecting the Nash, not take these things, so you don't take it because you don't need it?
Which is
Well,
awesome.
and that actually into your point of how many copies do you run of it, because you run a one-off for the matchups you need it, but then if you go first and you play Norstalin and you don't search it, but then actually ends up being a matchup you need it for, it's interesting.
But that's
But
the,
is
that's
there
the thing.
anything else you'd
I
get?
do not think that the first effect is the one that you care about. I think the actionability is.
Mm.
Number 128.
I feel like we're missing 104 numbers there.
Yeah, right. Well, I understand this card if I haven't had the first 127.
Luma's best friend, this is.
Yeah, right. This is why Dadaluma will stay banned, I imagine. So, it's good. I don't know. It's good as a Wind card. It's not massively
Sweet.
searchable or anything like that, and it probably doesn't go in current Wind decks. But the S effect is incredible. The main effect is really good as well. But 4,000 is a odd number that is hard to deal in pretty much anything. Especially Wind decks to yourself. So I don't know.
No. They should have
Like
been
Firewind.
Yeah, there should have been a fire or lightning card. Because this has Black Mages written all over it.
Oh, definitely.
It's Wind, it ain't gonna see play.
No. Opus
No.
10 Barts with
No.
more text on it. It's good. It's probably more for a sort of L3 thing. It is a solid Moogle target for things, but yeah,
It's
technically.
just the parts with an extra line of text to update it from like the past 6 or 7 whatever sets, but yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. I like the Barts as well, but this is not doing it for me.
Yeah.
Prompto, I think, is incredible.
And you're the only one, I think.
No, I think it's good. I agree.
It's good enough.
If now that Noctis can search for a backup, like the Retainers never had an engine, and that was always their big problem. Because
Retainers suck though, so
no, they don't anymore because they've got a backup.
I don't. Prompto's the only good retainer forward.
Well, not anymore because it's got Ignis, which we'll get to. But that means that Ignis will also break a forward and draw a card. It's great. It's got a good protection ability. It draws cards. It's very searchable. It's as far as Wind Earth is concerned, this is yes. Get your foils. I think this is really good. But obviously you say that Prompto's their only good forward. That's true. But you can also now play better forwards than Prompto because you're just going to put
Also, it's more than just break with Ignis, break forward and draw a card. It's also get something back from break zone.
Exactly. Yeah. Lots you can do with it. Lots of advantage. Like it a lot. I think this will. If retainers are good, this has to see play in it. You'll never play the other Prompto again.
Can we just acknowledge the fact that we got a Prompto, Ignis, Noctis, and no Gladio in this set?
Yeah.
It almost doesn't matter though because you're never going to replace that Gladio from the start.
No, I know. I just thought it was a weird
Also,
observation.
has anyone clocked who else is in the artwork?
Yeah, because it's the artwork from the DLC. It's his clone dad.
It's for stale.
Yeah. I know.
No, I don't care about Fab 15 in the slightest. So.
Fair enough. He's also got a machine gun. Beldath.
Oh god!
She-
Right, here we go.
This is great. I love this card. I think that there's probably a mill deck with this.
I'm in the works trying to make it.
Of course you were.
This needed the full art the Velvet had years ago that was dog.
Yeah.
Agreed.
This card needed that art.
Well, when you become world champion, you can make this the full art.
Oh, I can't wait for that day.
Oh yeah.
When I'm 55 and this card's still seeing play in all decks.
It mills too. When you remove a warp counter, when enters the field, you can remove a forward in your opponent's break zone. Oh, and then cast it. What? Crazy.
He does cast it that turn.
I would just be happy to warp 3 of these at once, though, right?
Oh yeah, mill 12, easy.
But
what it removes must be cast with correct color.
yeah. That's fine. That's fair. Not like there's a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that card.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an element with Vayne, so I think Vayne's got a lot of bait this set. So
I think
we'll see what happens there.
I think like playing Crystal Chronicles through like a Wind Earth sort of thing as well gives you a lot of like quite decent opportunities for mill. So
You could probably just run this in probably Wind Earth, yeah, just because then you've got the Epitaph Searcher as well.
Well, there's also an opportunity for you to. So, with the warp counters, they're not all removed at the same time, are they? So they all create abilities which you can then stack however you like. So you can have a Beldat, and if you play it with water, you can Famfrit one of these and your opponent's forwards, then to play another one to get access to 2 of your opponent's cards.
Sure.
So you can actually play like Wind, Water, Mill, I suppose. I don't know. I think it's a cool card.
Just a ruling question. If you do warp 3 at the same time, and then the last counters are removed, one enters, do the other 2 just stay removed because they can't enter?
Yeah.
And it never rechecks.
Yeah.
But
You've also milled your opponent 12 cards.
Yeah.
The Goddess. I don't get it.
I think this card's growing on me, actually.
It's category 6. Ice Wind just got board white, but isn't Luso.
It's too expensive for Icewind.
It's actually not that bad because you can play Gestalian Emperor in Icewind because you're already playing Lock.
Are you paying 7 for anything in Icewind?
No, that's where you play 6.
It's Wind's issue, right? Wind's issue is hard aggro. This answers it.
It does the turn after.
Your entire hand.
Sure, but it removes the current board, which
And
Wind doesn't
This
have.
doesn't have to live. This can die and they will still die.
Yeah.
I need to see this in action before I really believe it, I think.
I can see why you're hesitant, but I do think this card is good.
I think that the remove from Breakstone as well, given that to Wind. Rather than
breaks
the
on
one-
every turn as well.
Yes, like just get rid of it. But yeah, no, I think you pay 6 CP for this with the wall in Earth.
Yeah, that I can see, like, as a concession, having a 6 and a 7 for a really cheap price. I think that's really worth it. But,
Can we just appreciate Win got 4 board wipes this set?
yeah, well, it's a question to see if it needs them or not, really. But
What did I get?
Alexa, show me
Fill up.
AI generated card, please.
T-pose and all.
Yeah, Melfi, if that's a real name, which it isn't. Searches for a Sonon. Sonon in this is terrible. And you're not going to search for the Earth Lightning one because it's a wind card. The action ability is pretty good, but this is a severe no for me.
I really thought when this card got spoiled that the Wind Legend we hadn't seen was going to be sewn on.
And then the Sonon was awful.
Yeah.
That would have been cool, but alas not.
Carpenter, one of those backups. This one, more playable than the others, probably. Moving on. Yuri. So Jacob, you were sort of saying that this one's probably not as playable as the Chelinka.
Well, it's difficult because if you do play this one, then you discard and play the really old legend Chelinka, which means if you then party attack, you break any forward or monster and a forward or cost 4 or more with these 2 party attacking, which is kind of insane. But I think because you've literally got like so many combinations of which Chelinka to run, which Yuri to run. I think you've got to do so much testing to really kind of figure it out.
I think you're just the man to do it.
Oh, I appreciate the confidence boost. I definitely will be looking at tinkering with this. It's gonna take a lot of time.
I don't know why, but this screams wind fire to me.
You want to play Lato finally?
Yeah, I don't see it fitting in any other color. But yeah, Lato.
Mhm.
I like the fact that it says activate all characters, not activate all wind characters or any restriction on it. Mostly because it's not an ice card, so it wouldn't be a restrictive card.
So it says something in the chat. Do you play the backup Chelinka? And the fact that this can even play a backup is definitely something that's worth considering as well. There's so much you can do within these 2 cards.
Backup Chelinka on entry lets you attack twice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also returns to hand, so there's no reason not to play 1 backup, 2 forward.
Oh, come on now. Come on. That's never worked in everything else, and it's not going to work in this.
Yeah, it might. Try it, Jacob.
Oh yeah, that's on me, is it now? All right.
We did volunteer.
Yuffie has shuriken counters for sealed and for draft for your Cisne backups, but you're not going to play this in anything else.
Yeah, I think in just the time move on, I don't think this sees much play. You get counters, she has to attack to use them, it's too slow, it's too small.
I don't like how all these shuriken counters can only remove from themselves. What's the point in having the same sort of counter if you can't remove from other things?
Cisne removes them from other things.
But it's from herself.
There's
Okay.
Edge as well.
Cisne can't remove from other things.
That's what makes it so great.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the question is, does this become the one-off for the 5 CPU fee?
No, because it doesn't cost 1. Ritz is bad.
Yeah.
Cool.
Must target opponents forward, right?
Dragoon, the backup that gains you a crystal is good. First strike on tap and break. Yep, it's always been good.
Why is the wind one a Dragoon?
Yeah, I know.
Never understood.
Because the lightning.
The Earth one not being a monk has always irked me.
Speaking of Earth, here we are. Arkasodara.
This guy's in Jabba's palace in Mos Eisley, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Got you close since then.
This is pretty good for limited formats, and that is one loud shirt. But no, Antlion in 4. When a backup enters your field or a backup you control leaves the field until the end of the turn, Antlion becomes a forward with 9,000 power. If he's dealt damage, choose up to 1 forward you control to do the same amount of damage.
4.
No.
Fine.
Yeah, but there's no room for something that's just fine, is there? Like, it's just...
It could be a twofer. Like, it's okay. But yeah, just like... Are you going to run, like, maybe a self-backup destruction deck in Fire and Earth, maybe?
Well, you've got Ignis, right? So, by being a 9k, it means that you can turn on Ahriman. So, Ignis is... break a forward, add a forward, make this a forward, then Ahriman becomes a forward.
Also,
So,
if
like-
you want self-backup destruction, you just play monks.
Or Mystic.
So, like, we've always said that monsters that come forward on action or on stack or something is always better than generic forwards. So, self-protection is always good.
This is actually isn't bad in monks with your Ursula constantly breaking your backups.
Yeah, but you would never fit. You'd never fit it in.
Box doesn't have enough good cards, doesn't have room for these filler cards, so
This you would fit in though.
Yeah, absolutely.
This should have been the full art.
Sure, emo man, with a purple hand,
The Thinker.
Yeah, you beat me to it.
We said that. We used that.
He's come up with a new recipe.
You were saying that you don't. So I say that I still think that the best place for this is probably Retainers, but you were saying probably Rampair. I have to disagree with the idea of this in Rampair because, like me and Jacob were talking last night and saying that like Rampair isn't played at the minute because there's nothing good to play off of it, and it's just. There's no FF11 in this set. The stuff from last set doesn't go with it or anything. So, like, it just hasn't really grown as a deck in ages. So, I just don't see it for that. I think...
Well, I think it hasn't really
never
played.
struggled.
It doesn't do enough on entry at the moment, which just sounds absurd because they have really good on entry effects. But what Ignis does is it adds an extra on entry effect of choose a forward, break it. And it makes it easier to pull off because it gets it back. So, that's why I think it's a Rampair card. I'm not saying it's... I think it's really good. It's what Rampair needs if Rampair is going to see play. I'm not saying Rampair is going to be tier 1 because of this card. I don't think it is, but I think it's definitely a card that could help Rampair out a lot and potentially let it see at least some competitive play.
I definitely don't disagree, but I do definitely think that the reason why because Rampair Rampair's never struggled with killing it.
Oh, did we lose him?
I think we lost him.
Chimera.
Oh, there we are. He's back. Right, do you want to repeat that?
Sorry,
I thought we lost you then.
I apologise. So I don't because I don't think that's ever been Rampair's main problem. It's just the fact that because it's always been able to break Rampair. You were running the the Lightning Monster Chimera. Not too long ago. That card was great with Rampair being able to get rid of it and get a really big body on the field. Geomancer as well from Opus 1, I think it is. So that's never really been the issue. The issue really has been what do you play off the Rampair, because there really hasn't been a better Rampair target since the starter Shantoto. And don't get me wrong, that card is pretty damn good to play off of Rampair, but that's it.
With this playing anything, is this the best thing you can do now? Just play that Shantoto to play the Rampair back?
Possibly.
Because then you can...
Theodore is still not a bad shout.
Yeah.
Theodore's fine, and so is like Shadow Lord as well, but...
If you play this with Retainers as well, like Noctis means that this is going to kill 2 guys, which I think is good. And if you're going to get rid of that Prompter, you're going to draw a card and you're going to get one back from the break zone. I think you're going to see a lot more out of this from Retainers than anything else. I think the card is so solid that you can play it anywhere in any Earth deck, though.
Does this affect Kingsglaive in any way?
No.
Wrong colour.
No, it's the right colour for Kingsglaive.
Yeah,
but
Kingsglaive.
I suppose actually the best thing you can do actually is break your own crow to get extra.
Yes.
2 things back at the same time.
It is also searchable off Claris through Regis, Cindy, Vestale could flip it as well.
Yeah, I think I will have a go at Vestale Rampair again, but it does seem a bit late. This is what Rampair wanted about 2 years ago.
Yeah. Ifalna, with somewhat cursed AI artwork. Aerith's mum plays an Earth forward from the break zone for cost X, which is all right, but Tama.
Oh, it's just Earth forward.
Yeah, it's sort of a Tama retrain. That's not seen play in ages because basically the cost of anything you want to play is increased by 1 because of the dull. It's I don't know. I think this is probably going to be for limited formats or L3.
You want to cheat out something for cheaper than it would be otherwise, and there's nothing in Earth that does that. And you also, it has to be on your turn anyway. Sure, you can pull something out in combat, but there's no Earth forwards that I think you're caring about back attacking for a combat trick. If you could do this in your opponent's turn, then possibly, but even then, like, I don't know. It has to be very, very telegraphed because you're keeping Ifelna up, as well as either more backups to be able to pay the cost, or
I'm
cards in
saying
hand
right
to
now
pay the
that
cost.
nobody wants to pay 5 for Robel Akbel or for like Ursula or something like that. It's just,
I don't know.
I suppose with Ursula though, it's different because you're getting a backup back, but even then,
Well, this would trigger Ignis, right? Because it hits the break zone.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's incorrect colour.
Which is cracking a Geomancer to give something brave.
I suppose as well, like Liam in the chat has also said that this does play Warrior of Light. Sure, it does. There's probably easier ways to get it in.
5 CP Warrior of Light without getting the activate in the door, if you want.
Yeah. I'd rather just play the Cecil and get 2 guys, I think.
We've also got the issue that there's a lot of break zone removal this set.
No, definitely.
So that also affects it.
Every element has break zone removal now. Every single one.
Moving on,
Gross.
Aerith, Warp 2 for 1 Earth, and when she enters the field due to a summon or ability, you get back a forward. Because it says that, and Moro doesn't, this, I think, is somewhat playable. It's okay.
Shouldn't have been Warp 2.
The name is very contested.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been Warp 2, but you can also play it in off of other things, which is good.
It's cute that you can Phoenix this out for sure,
or even Aegis. 4 CP Aegis can play this, and then you still get a 4 back. It's okay. It's fine. There's nothing particularly bad about it. Extra points for Drill Hair. Chaos. None of us can figure out if this card's any good, but I think it's pretty good.
Question mark, question mark.
Let's have a look.
Anything that plays something from the deck is pretty good.
Yeah. So if that can, on turn 1, if you just ditch your hand to play, Kadaj or Ultimecia even as well. Like
Yeah.
There's
or like the new Xenos later in the game to break a forward, but yeah, I think Kadaj is probably your best bet with this card.
Because that's
you've actually got some pretty good options for 4 drops.
Your opponent then has to deal with a 6/9 and a 4/8 or a 4/9 probably at the same time. Like that's hard to deal with and really early. I think this is good.
It's a shame that his second effect has to remove 2 dark characters and not 1 dark character. Otherwise, you could play him and the thing you searched, and if they both get killed, you can then remove them later.
Well, I suppose that means do you pay an extra CP and play Spiritus?
Yeah.
So that this gets Spiritus and then you get something else from the deck as well.
It's just a shame it can't play Cam. Cam would have been really good.
Oh, that would have been crazy.
That's probably why, I guess. Maybe.
Lots it can do. I think anything with this sort of this is something that again needs to be watched pretty much forever, which is probably why.
Actually, I think this searching Cam is fine because most time we want to search Chaos with Cam, and you can't really while this is on the field. So.
I think this is probably better than people are gonna give it credit for. So keep this in mind. Bad category, obviously, because 1's not searchable. But being an Earth card makes it quite searchable. So I don't know. I think this is something that you definitely bear in mind. Leatherworker. That's the free one.
Yes.
Nope. Kieran.
It's alright.
So it's okay.
I kind of wish the S effects were the other way around on the different Kierans, but
sure.
That's about it.
Yeah, it's fine. That's pretty much
consistent
it, right?
crystal generation is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to generate crystals, is Doga not just better?
I guess it depends what you're trying to generate it in, right? If it's summon based deck or not. A reliable way of getting crystals back constantly for robles is no bad thing, I guess.
Yeah. it's okay. Well, we'll see, I guess. It's also something because the crystal is completely on curve for the forward and everything. It's basically free. There's I don't know. There's a lot of good things you can spend it on, and the fact that it doesn't cost you extra. If this costs 4, absolutely unplayable. But because it costs 3, it's something to bear in mind, I think.
Well, that's it. I wish it cost 2.5. 2.5 would have been really good for this.
Quite possibly. Gygus FFCC, which just says when it enters, you can give one of your opponent's forwards. It cannot attack or block. And then for 2 earth, 1 tap and break it, you can deal 1 forward 8k. No.
No.
I mean, it's not awful with the new lightning mirror.
It also says to the end of your opponent's turn, so you're going to skip a blocker and an attacker.
Well, true.
That's true.
Behemoth said that as well. Behemoth didn't see play. So.
Yeah.
Fair.
Kimari.
God, no.
Yeah,
No.
Pass.
pass. Yeah.
Still waiting for a good Kamari.
One good Kamari.
There's the
The
backup.
water backup is the best we. Yeah, that's not the closest we got.
And the earth backup.
Mm,
Yeah, never
And we
mind.
had the Guardian Protector.
That card was
Minor top 5 on a 3 TP backup is pretty good, and then you can add 1 backup among them to your hand, and then for 2 tap and break him, you can draw a card. Pretty good.
Once you standard though. The fact that it's limited to add 1 backup makes it.
Has potential for L3. Has potential for standard if there's a decent deck for it. It's not bad, I think, is the best thing we can say for it. But, yeah. Don't like the eyes. Cecil.
oh,
Give me those full ads, baby.
slightly for
I'm not entirely sure about this card.
This is just Rydia counters, right? It just means that Rydia can get to 6 very easily.
So, I've been thinking about this a lot, and a lot of people say that, obviously you pay the earth and the water, which are an effect cost, so you can't pay anything with Rosa. Just take a point of damage, which is fine, but then you put him in the break zone to search for 1 card named Cecil with a drop card and play it onto the field. So what it wants you to do in this is play the water one, but you can also play the wind one that plays as a free forward. But then you've got the question of how many Cecils do you play of each that are called the same thing, and then what's he going to play that isn't called Cecil? I don't know. The deck building, if it can, sounds like it can just draw upside down really easily, and I don't really get that. Someone convinced me otherwise.
I mean, I think the fact that I do think you pretty much just played this and the wind one, because not only, you got the multiples if you want to do this S effect, sure, but the fact that you're almost always going to be playing the new Rosa, which means that even though the new wind one is off elements in an earth water deck, you can still just play it anyway.
You are going against element by not having Sid Polendina to search things, though.
You could play the Sid. Is Rosa just forwards, or is it characters?
Forward.
It's forward,
Yeah.
So I don't quite get the deck building in this. So, like, how many of the wind one do you play? Well, what if that's in your opening hand or mulligan or first draw or something? So there's not, because it always has to do it from the deck. I think that I really, really, really like what it does, but I don't get the deck building for it. Obviously, I know that anything else you get, if you want this one, you can just turn it into do something 8k, which is phenomenal S effect for something so cheap as well, which means that obviously that can come into things as well. I don't know. I don't know. It's pretty good. But I need someone much smarter than me to make this deck, I think. Sonon, that's what his face looks like, everybody.
He has a face.
Yeah.
Lies.
Nothing to see here. The card's terrible.
If card name Melfi is dead, then he gets a bit stronger.
I do like how much break zone like self removal there is in this set. That
Yeah.
it's the break zone's becoming a second hand more and more.
That is very true.
Move on to Tifa, the 1 CP one. For some reason has the job at Avalanche Operative, despite the fact it doesn't go with the artwork.
Should be Yeehaw
1 CP,
Operative.
brave, cannot become dull by opponent's summons abilities. That's really good. But when she enters, you have to discard 2 cards, which means ideally she has to be the last card in your hand. And you can pay 2 from backups to make so that she can attack again. So if you've got things like, say, the no-no that activates on attack and the Shulk that activates on damage, she can potentially be a 1-turn kill.
Too much work.
Yeah, I don't think this is great. I actually think the fire one is much more interesting and has much more chance of dealing much more damage than this does.
I think that's the main point you made. It's just kind of boring. This card just does what it does. The fire one actually has some interactions that's interesting. This one, just whatever.
I know the other one cost 2 as well, but as this one was such an investment at cost 1, as an Ixion player, I just... I can't be afraid of it at all. I think it costs 1, so it dies to any cost-based removal. It's
But it costs 1, so it can be added by zombie.
Sure. I honestly, if I'm completely honest, this card needed to cost 3 to be good.
I think this is going to be seen only in Avalanche as like the 4th Tifa.
I would probably still play the other one if I'm honest over this one, but look, even if Bart's Boko was probably still a thing, this could do something, but it's not going to. Let's be honest. It's fine, but yeah, it's. I think other people are more hyped for this one than me, and maybe it ends up being better. Hang on. She's wearing a belt and it's not through the loops.
I love how that's now your biggest.
Is that what you've noticed?
Yeah. What is the point? Roberto Ferrari, what is the matter with you? I can't stop looking at that. Right, next card. Noctis.
Is he wearing a belt not through his trousers?
Well, I didn't actually mention on Rufus, who's actually got a skirt made out of belts. So, Noctis is all right. I actually thought we already had this artwork, but we didn't.
No, it's the throne one.
So, Noctis sort of can't die, which is okay. So, when he enters the field, you choose 1 forward, and it gains 2k in Brave, which is okay, not great, but it's okay. But when he goes to the break zone, you can put 1 character you control in the break zone, and when you do so, you can play him from the break zone to the field dull, which and then he gains 2k forever. And obviously he'll still get his entry again for give something 2k in Brave. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's alright.
It's not gonna break
fine.
Rampair because obviously it's the wrong speed for it and the wrong time for it, but it's okay. I think that I really like the fact that it just keeps coming back just for sacking, a character, which even if it's just a monster, so like you got Asta Protoflorian or something like that, which is pretty cool, or just bin off backups that you don't need anymore. He's all right.
He's not bad. It would take someone with a bit of creativeness to see what he goes in, though.
Yeah, you can't put him in something like in something like Retainers because you just have to play the Wind Earth Noctis, but it's okay. It's fine. Geomancer is getting a reprint. It's a great card. And not called Mum.
Thank God.
Robal's best friend.
I like Galif in his little
In
pajamas.
pajamas.
Galif is cute in any little thing you wear that, but yeah. Fake is crap.
You're not good enough to be my fake.
And he Fake looks like he's read his own card text.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here. It's rubbish. He can only attack or block if he's seen you take 3 points of damage. I don't even know if this can see limited play. Obviously, because you've only got 6 life rather than 7.
He's got too much insight, you're right. He just knows his rubbish.
Fenrir. People seem pretty excited about this card. I don't know.
It's technically free.
It is.
And
if you've got a 2-cost forward.
It just means that you don't have to worry. Like, you can play this in any deck that runs it. Like, you could play this in like a wind fire deck that runs a 2 CP dual element Zidane and just keep the Zidane alive with this.
You'll see Cat 13 players playing this just to protect the lightning.
Not to sound like Paul though, but Ixion doesn't tag it.
Yeah.
So pointless.
It's fine. This has not been one that I look for in a full art. If I'm honest,
I think it looks pretty good as full art.
He looks like a shrew. He doesn't look like a wolf.
It's a bit alchemy gothic for my taste. You know, you'd see this on a t-shirt, which you would never consider buying because it looks like you'd smell a bit too much.
I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh had this artwork in the very first set.
Silver Wolf.
Silver Fang.
Silver Moon. Is that what it's Silver Fang?
No, it's Attack the Moon, Silver Fang. Why do we always have to bring this in to be bloody Yu-Gi-Oh? Mirror. One
Mirror's good.
EX that can top 5 for a monster. You can then put her into the break zone to choose one monster and gains it can't be broken until the end of the turn. It's okay. I don't love it. I think that it's a highly contested name.
It's called Mirror. Why is this called Mirror? Just give us a more good monster support that isn't called Mirror. Because this card is sick if you could run it with the other Mirror.
Yeah. Well, you can put her into the break zone anytime you like, so...
Yeah, it's a shame that it's like revealed top 5 not a monster, because otherwise I think this card would be really good in Ice Earth as a way of just protect. If someone tries to break your scale tone, you can just protect it. But the problem is, very few decks run enough that you're ever going to see a monster, which I think is why she has to cost 1 CP. That's not the end of the world if you miss.
Yeah, it's. I think somebody else can probably convince me on breaking this one. I think it's okay. But yeah, it's the Mega Sisters 14. We have some new players on our Discord. They might be in this very stream, and they were like, when this one got spoiled, they were just like, right, well, that's 13 done. And it isn't, because
Play this
against any other deck, it doesn't do anything. And if it doesn't do anything against most of the decks, then it's not worth playing. I am surprised this is a rare. This is beyond crap pack filler.
It's way too overcosted.
But you can discard your arcs using its last effect.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If it survives the turn.
If this was called the Mega Sisters, as in it's the FF4 one, maybe you could use it with the old one. But
And you could put it in the break zones, you'd have to draw it.
yeah. Otherwise, no.
Yeah. Agreed. Not me.
Leo. Oh, this is interesting.
Love the full art on this as well.
I wrote Leo.
I very much rate this card, yeah.
Well, okay, so Jacko, talk me through it. What are you doing with this one?
I mean, this card has so many applications, right? Like, but you've got to think, like, the value you get if you play this Leo into one of the new, like, Yuri or Chalinkas and just, like, flood the board is, yeah. I really liked the old Leo that had the similar-ish, like, full art style to this. But it was just too slow, but the instant value of, like, playing this and getting, you could basically for 6 CP get a backup and 2 forwards that synergize with each other really nicely. It's just, yeah.
I do want to just say as well with this card is what I was saying before about with the Yuri that can't be targeted with the stilt skins. So it's like, so you have if you want to run the Chilinka backup, and the stilt skin, that means that Yuri is going to be 10k untargetable. With this card out, which can also search for that Yuri and play it onto the field, that card is going to win a trade with Warrior of Light because it can't get pinged for 5k to get killed with the first strike.
That's pretty good.
Mental. And once again, pseudo Brave Orc can just activate 2 backups.
It's also got 2 cards that can search it. It can be searched by Nostalen and Claris.
Good category, good job.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much everything going for this one, I think.
It can play Lark as well. It can be played in Ice Earth to play Lark to get your monster
Yeah,
back.
that's such a good point.
It can also be paid for 4 CP if you got Chime on the field. But then you have to play Chime for 4 CP.
Pretty cool. I think there's definitely stuff we can do to experiment with this one. Assassin, as now we're in Lightning. No, basically. And it's a full art as well, and it's,
Really nice for
the
that.
Ito art is so nice, but the card is just, it doesn't cost 1, it costs 4, and then you have it's a summon basically that you have to play in your thing. So you pay 4, deal something 3k, put it in the break zone, and then you can break 1 damage forward. It's probably this is hard one to play in limited as well because it's got more of a mono lightning cost. So no.
Yeah, not great.
Alize.
This is good.
It is pretty good.
Very good.
When he
Very,
enters,
very good.
you can play a Scion forward, of course, 3 less in break zone, and when a water forward enters your field, you can choose 1 forward and opponent controls dull it, which means it's meant to go with the Alpha Gnome, which we'll see later. It's okay, I think. What forward are you really playing? You're probably going to play the Stola, okay? Right? The legend from a few sets ago.
No,
Is
so
Stola or Grachiotia?
no,
Yeah.
so this and backup Louis Soir is like 5-6 damage turn 2.
Talk us through it.
Because you go, you Louis Soir get the Fire Alpha Nord, play this, play the Fire Alpha Nord, get Gotetsu, turn 2, Gotetsu Hien. You have 5 characters that Hien needs for haste, and everything can attack.
Yeah,
Sure.
that works.
Sure.
You'll go to 0 in hand, but you're dealing 6 damage on your second turn.
Well, then you're running Fire Lightning, so you played the dual element Ishtola then, right? Just to do that last point of damage?
Yeah, you can. So I think that's the new aggro deck. That's what beats out Cat 13, not the Mega Sisters.
Because nothing.
This also has really good synergy with the new water. Well, I say water scions that we got, one in particular, and it's not the Alpha No. But there's also the old. But there's also the old water lightning scions as well. Like Thancred is still a thing, very expensive.
I will never understand why. The card is just okay. Move on to Angeal. I think Angeal is really good.
Yeah, kind of.
All it needs is Zach, one of the cloud backups that isn't a Merc or Restrictor, and you're gonna kill something. You can kill Warrior of Light. It's pretty solid. It's not a contested name. It's okay, and you can turn off targeting at any point to put him in the break zone to give something 3k. It's all right.
I think this is another card that actually fits kind of nicely into Cloud Pod, to be honest with you.
Oh sure.
Really? I don't think you'd. It's a bit difficult to get a second soldier on board, though, isn't it?
Yeah, because the Cloud Pod Cloud is a soldier.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Angeal counts himself, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
So you just need Zach or Restrictor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
it's
bad.
just 2 or more. So it just needs itself and another soldier, right?
Yeah, so you obviously on the stack you can kill this to make sure that it doesn't do it. But again, if you've got Restrictor and like a cloud backup, it will do it. Always. It's good. It's okay. It's I think this is one to watch for the future. I'm not even sure if it's there now, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Estinian. I initially thought this Estinian was quite bad, and then I played a lot of Earth Lightning over the last couple of sets, and now I think that it's really, really good.
It's great. It is absolutely great.
The Warp one is
28k.
awkward because it means you're probably likely to do it in your second turn unless you want to overspend on it. But yeah, attacking twice for the second one, that's going to be 28k first strike. I'm pretty certain that gets over Warrior of Light.
Just about.
Let me check the math on that one.
It's cool. If he's hitting the ground, I think he's only really going to die to either an early Amaterasu or just cost-based removal. Otherwise, like, he is just going to go straight in. I think this is great. I'm glad this is not a Dragoon, actually, because I don't think you really want to play this in Dragoons, and having this as a Scion thing, which makes it quite searchable and things like Earth Lightning. I think it's great. I think it's really cool. I'm glad that
Could have been a
Scions
dual
have
job,
name.
I think, given amount of text.
Yeah.
Start wrapping around the side of it.
Well, it's got all the inherent Scion synergy with the Stola and Thancred and the others.
Yeah, it's
And
going back
it's-
to that like old school Scion like mentality of just slap you up like back in Opus 5 where they all had haste. It just
And it's so cheap. It's just 1 CP and 1 turn is literally the cheapest warp will ever be.
Well, that's the
And
thing
you
as
get
well.
such...
That's wrong, right? There's
cost-based-
zero cost warp.
After the cost-based removal that you're going to get on cards like this as well, like, the worst thing you can do is break him so that your opponent can play him again.
Right.
But he's great. I can't wait to play with him. If I get the gold one, I will sell it.
I don't think it's going to reach
It's
quite as
fine,
much as the last
Not
two. But
even remotely. But
Why isn't it signed?
who's going
That's
to
a bit
sign
of a
it?
cop out.
I'll
I
sign
know
it.
that.
I'll sign
okay,
it.
well,
Gives a credit.
go on then, mate. Mate, if I pull an Estinian, you are signing that. Don't you worry about
okay. Clay eyebrows.
it.
Kadaj, let's... man, it's bad.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Never mind.
getting late. Can't be asked. Move on.
Grahatia is an interesting
Great.
card that one of our guys, Adam, keeps trying to find a 14 standard unit backup to make this worthwhile to give it an extra 3k. I don't think it needs it.
no.
Well, it's got a great one now though, in that Loperit one we'll talk about later, the water one.
What I would love to do this more than anything is play this in Earth Lightning monsters, because I would happily search for an extra 1 CP to get Urianger out of the deck so we can play, pretty much any monster we like from Break Zone.
It's pretty good, actually, yeah.
But always when it comes to cards like this, you've got to... What's the most you can do? Well, you can pay 7 to play the Thancred, but that means you're also paying 10 in one card, in one turn. And like also you can pay like the 6 CP starter East Tola. There's, but what's the least you can do? I can play a 1 CP forward or a 2 CP forward, and I'll probably get a card back or something in the field. And if that's good, then that's probably fine. But I think this card's best friend is probably Mira, which we'll get to in a minute, I think. But yeah, I think it's really cool. Illusionist, opponent break zone. If it deals damage to a forward, opponent controls the turn, increases by 2,000. You're not playing this in standard.
Not at all.
Nope, goodbye.
The Emperor, cool dress, man.
You're not playing this in standard either.
No,
Yep.
some people think it's pretty cool, and maybe better than Dark
Who?
Emperor.
Who? Cloutman? Yeah, never mind.
Is it better than Dark Emperor? No, I think it needs to be an odd cost that it increases by. But the fact that he sort of can't die is pretty cool. But
all the Emperors have pretty much had that on a text. And
yeah,
I haven't really.
The problem with these is you have to play the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
So
More than that, you have to play more copies of the
like,
Emperor.
he only thing that will make this deck playable is that a backup that says you can play as many The Emperor as you
That would
want.
be sick.
That would be.
Like just
That'd
a
be pretty
one
cool.
card backup that
Or just give
like punches a hole in that rule of the game.
just give any of the emperors an S ability, and none of them have an S ability.
Yeah. It does seem so funny.
What?
How many emperors are there?
I'm way ahead of you.
you.
Shadow Dragon.
Like 7 or 8.
Shadow Dragon
This guy
is
is
pretty
amazing.
cool.
So glad we finally got this.
There's
done.
11 emperors. Just
Shadow
Get out
Dragon,
there.
Jacob.
11
Shadow
princes.
Dragon.
Good God, Jacob, it's getting late.
Yeah, you're
let's
going to
go.
pay 1 for him when you warp in Archfiend Goldbears, and you're going to get an extra guy that's going to kill the 3 or less opponent controls. It's great.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel sad though because I
Sometimes
look
you
at
might-
this
you might
card and go.
Cast it for free as well. Sometimes.
I look at this though and you go, oh, do I have to play Archfiends?
yeah,
I have to?
Archfiend's all right. They've got better now
Yeah.
as well.
I have a 4 deck that I'm absolutely building as soon as I get all the bits for it. I think it's going to be really good.
You can play with water gold bears that flip the top card and plays 3 costs
Core.
if you really want to.
Core. This card is bad. This is not the captain support we wanted or
Yeah,
needed.
Captain support.
No.
It doesn't. You can play it back to the field by milling yourself 10, but unlike the Legend card from Opus 8, it doesn't do anything. So you're only
No, it
helping-
doesn't, Liam.
We were never going to get good captain support the moment they made the Legend Bash a judge. It's just not a job that they're looking to push.
Liam's asked if the Shadow Dragon works off of Man in Black. No, it does not. Weaver is the lightning backup that becomes cheaper. Probably not in lightning. Johnny is excellent.
Yeah.
Getting
Like
back
it.
character from hand in break zone, it's really, really solid. And then for 1 lightning, 1 anything, tap and break him, you can get back any 7 character in your break zone as well. It's really good.
Good target for 7.
You're probably going to.
This is really good for it's really good for surprise Sephiroth
Sure. Yeah.
on the back attack.
Getting back that Sephiroth's really solid as well. No, there's so many good targets for this.
Even without the surprise, like it's just good get it back.
No, I like it. It will absolutely see play. Sephiroth will absolutely not see play because Warp 3 is terrible, even if it does cost 1. If he was a job soldier, maybe, but he is not. He's a war hero. No.
Yeah. Garbage.
Move on.
Not good.
Chadley is excellent. Being able to
Legend.
search for Ixion at any time, or Rama, or the new Rama in this, really, really solid.
Yeah.
Not too much to say. It's not particularly exciting, but the fact that as well it can get back a forward by discarding a summon, so you can even discard your with both effects on this. Well, you can discard your arcs if need be. It's just there's so many good things about this card. It's very searchable. It's a great category. It's a great element. It's got so many good targets. I will be playing this card pretty much immediately, I think. What else we got? Ninja, excellent card. Played a lot of it. Fusoria, who's really, really good for 2CP EX that draws a card, and when he can cast a summon of cost 2 or less from your hand without paying the cost on attack, but it doesn't say lightning.
Yeah, this card is great, and it's not a name clash that we particularly have often.
No, not at all.
TCP EX, draw 1. Great card.
Great without any sort of Rydia deck. I don't know if you can find a way of squeezing it in.
Well, you don't need to. Rosa lets you tap any color, right?
Yeah.
So,
And because it's a Cat 4, it counts for the radio counters.
Yeah.
Yeah, really,
Yeah,
really
no,
solid.
cards.
Behemoth, 2CP enters, deals 7k, and for 2 tap and break, you can choose 1 damage forward and break it. it's okay, but probably not. 7k is sort of a bad number still at the moment. I do wonder if 7k will still be a bad number going into Opus 20, but at the moment, I don't think this one. L3, quite possibly. Any other time, no. Next we have Mira, the Lightning Legend, the really exciting one. Anybody got particularly strong feelings on this one?
I am so disappointed with this card.
Really?
When this was revealed, I was expecting some sort of monster recursion. We got nothing. So without any sort of monster recursion, this card is garbage because you can't guarantee the monster in hand.
Okay.
Also, 5 CP, it dies quite easily.
Yeah. It is a
Hedgehog
QA
Eye
pay,
and
which is
Warrior Blood.
okay, but without the monster, you're screwed. So, yeah.
I don't know. I can see this one seeing some sort of competitive play. I think there is definitely something in this.
I think the way you have to guarantee the monster is by playing monsters that search monsters. So your goblins, your flans.
Yeah, but then you want to play those to get the other ones. So what you need is some sort of way to constantly recur monsters, which isn't really possible. You've got Lycagus, old school Lycagus, that searches monsters.
Yeah, and even then you'd rather be playing them to the board.
Or just play the dual color Lycagus.
Yep.
So it's like...
I think we'll leave
It's
this
great
one
to
under
slip it
we'll
into
see
any
then.
deck, but...
But
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's
for
pretty
we'll
good,
see.
but, fair enough. You might have sold me on that. Rama, Summon.
Great
okay,
card.
So I think it's okay.
Sorry, my headphones have died. I'm back now.
I think it's okay. I don't love this card.
Gives haste to any forward.
Mm-hmm.
Not only lightning.
Yeah, I just think it's okay.
Very, very much like that.
It's doing what you want from the 3CP one for cheaper though. Just win a game at some point by going, hey, dot that.
I would need it to say break a monster on it, if I'm honest. Instead of the 5k.
Play this for Rufus. Rufus for 2. Pay this for 2. Give Rufus haste. This card 2.
Yeah, sure. And I know Man in Black gives it an extra line of text as well, and gives Man in Black haste to do it again. I don't know. Just something about it. I don't.
It also
I don't love this.
doesn't. It doesn't have to deal damage to an active forward. It's any
That was
forward.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
I would leave the damage entirely. Personally, for me it's because of the monster break and the other one that makes it so good. I think it's okay. I think maybe in Ice Lightning it's really good, but in Earth Lightning or Mono Lightning, it's probably not good enough. But especially when you consider how good the Ifrit is and how far that goes. For this one, I just think that his pointy head is just all right. Ramza, I think, is crazy good. There's not really too much to say. It's not massively exciting, but if you have a crystal, he gains haste and he will break a forward when he dies. But yeah, I think he's really cool. I really like him.
It's fine.
You don't even have to pay the crystal, which is the weirdly nice thing
just
about
have
it.
to
as
have
well.
one, yeah.
Like, it's
You
like
You just have to have it.
you have to have it, which is actually really nice.
Very good in limited formats. Very good. I think if you're playing like any sort of crystal deck through lightning and stuff, which you probably are if you've got Lady Lilith or anything like that, this is really solid. I would definitely find room for this.
Not a night card though. Yeah, you're not playing that Ramza over
It's a
night.
warrior card. Put in a warrior deck.
Reeve is really good, apart from the fact that it's called Reeve, but there's probably room for this in other decks that don't play like a Kate Sif or a Vincent. So
You're playing this in anything that isn't Ice Lightning.
So you got your Fire Lightning or your Mono Lightning. I think it's a really good card. It just draws a card on EX. Excellent stuff.
Any card as well, not just like character. It's this card, which is good.
Really, really solid.
Really, really good.
Right, water. We're finally into the final element here. So we'll try and
Kind of.
spend a little bit less time now and see if we can wrap this up.
That's very bad.
Alpha, no, I think this is bad. I don't really like it.
Yeah.
You're not playing this over either the other water one or the fire one.
Because it says select, it's obviously supposed to combo with the other Witch Dolls when you play this one. Which is, it's okay. I just think you can do probably a bit better. I've never liked water as a element for Scions, and this still does not convince me otherwise anyway. Urianger, which is again really interesting. If you've got one removed card from the game, you can search for any category 14 forward.
This card's phenomenal.
This card is really, because we were thinking about which Urianger do you play in a Science deck. Oh well, that answers that question. This one.
How do you guarantee the remove?
Well, if you run this in like a water lightning monster variant, then you run either the Lan or the Rain, which removes a monster from your break zone from the game to give it either the Dull or the Haste every turn.
If I'm running a monster variant, why am I not playing the starter one?
Yeah, and then that also means that you have to have seen both a monster and a Lan or a Rain before you see that.
I don't think that this is particularly great at all because it's a water card. If it's a lightning card or an earth card, this is insane. But because it's water, it forces you to play water, and as I just said, I do not rate.
You don't need to be playing water, right? You can just play it off the Graphia.
Sure, I suppose.
Doesn't Oracle of Light remove itself from the game as well?
It does.
Doesn't have the job.
But part of me's thinking as well. I'm just gonna look this up really quickly. Isn't it the Urianger the 2 one that lets you reveal top 2 cards, and if it's up 14?
Yeah, flip top 2, add a 14 from whatever you flip.
I'm kind of with. Don't get me wrong. I think the card is good that you'd be able to search any category 14 forward is great, but at the same time, I just think most of the Uriangers are better.
Yeah, of the 4 of them, I think there are. This is definitely my 4th favorite.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Oh no, I think this is better than the dual color one, but
no, that bounced something and played a monster. It was good. And can discard for lightning CP if need be. Owaka is rubbish because you can only play him as your 3rd backup at least. Draw 2, discard 1 needs to be on something that's even costed and doesn't cost you turns to play it. It's bad, which is a shame because I like Owaka, but no.
Is this OG Owaka, not even the 13th or whatever he is in game?
Oh, that's a good point. That's wrong, yeah.
Curious.
Cecil, the water one, is
probably
probably better than anyone gave it credit for, because everyone was really thinking about the Earth one. I think this one's really good.
I do have come around to this one being better than the other one, I think.
I think you play them both. You just play them both in a forward ready deck.
Yeah, potentially, but there's the space thing as well. The S effect.
The fact that it gives self-protection to forwards is good.
I just think this goes in. If you play this down early enough with Archfiend, you're gaining like a crystal every single turn.
I don't think you can afford the.
What are you spending your crystals on?
Yeah.
His effect.
Just that one, yeah. Okay.
But why do you want to protect your Archfiend? You want them...
You're also using your crystals for Palom.
And for Palom, yeah.
Oh sure. Yeah. I think this is a really creative card, which there's so much you can actually do with this, despite the fact of what it says. And I know that Cecil's a massively contested name in this, but they all do such wildly different things that
because you are playing water and you are playing crystals, you can just play Glaciella as well, should you want.
Yeah,
if you want.
That's a good shout for definite.
And I think you're not playing this in Archfiends because I think this is good enough in like a Cat 4 deck outside of Archfiends. I think if you're playing Archfiends, you probably still want to be playing the light Cecil.
I know why the light Cecil is good in Archfiends, but I hate bricking it in that deck, and I think that deck can't afford to have any less consistency than it already does.
I mean, just don't play Archfiends.
Let's see what you come up with. I'd be really interested to see what you can build with this one. Hippocampus. I've read this about 50 times and I don't get it.
It feels like it was improved Cagnezzo.
it feels like it was a card designed for Mono Water. The set obviously with Sildra in it. Now, because you had all those monsters and stuff like that, so you had a ton of characters on the field. But
I think there's two important things I want to point out with this card. One of them is the fact that it says for every 2 characters you control, not 2 water characters you control. And also the fact that it says you can only use this ability once per turn, but not just on your turn.
Yeah. But you can only use this ability. Nah, it doesn't matter. I don't see where it goes, to be honest.
It's not really how much damage is it really going to deal?
Like 3,000?
You
3, 4.
You need something else to do to like help to go with the damage, and but you're gonna be dealing 3 active characters in order to be able to like do that. So it limits on what you can.
No, it's
Sometimes
just
it's
deal
damage, not
1,000 damage
reduction.
for every 2 characters you control. So it's not about you'd have to dole 3 active characters, but then you just then it's 1k for every 2 characters you control. But like again, that's at most 5k to like spread, which is not great and not enough. I don't know. I don't see it at all.
I think it's power damage and not power reduction, I must admit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That would have been, I think, a bit more worth it.
Yeah, if it was power reduction, that would have been good.
Blue goo.
I think this is good.
Blue goo is good. 1 CP, dollar activate, and then you can shoot, cancel an auto. That's pretty solid. I don't know if I can visualize a post Sildra water future at the moment from this set alone. But I think this is definitely a consideration going forward. Buy your foils now sort of card.
Do you not want to foil this card is ugly?
I tell you what, actually, it does mean there is now a very good 1 CP target for Realm.
There's been plenty.
Well, Adamantoise was the best we had for a while.
Oh, I don't know. Realm doesn't say water. It says
it's the best one in color.
Best one in color. So in a mono deck, you could play Realm to play the blue goo and the Echidna.
But you're not playing mono water anymore.
No.
Yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good. I don't know if it's there yet, but definitely watch this one. Fremelda is on attack trigger, which is bad. Fremelda is the only other sword saint for other Fremelda, which means that's still never going to see any play. The damage 3 EX burst one we had a few sets ago did see play, but this one, no, it's limited and limited alone, and that's a big maybe.
Yeah, too slow.
Porum. Okay, so we finally got to this one. Jacob, do you want to continue with this?
Yeah, I mean, so the Porum, when it enters the field, or is put from the field to the break zone, you draw discard, and if you discarded a category 4 character, you gain a crystal. I mean, it cycles. So say, in an Archfiend deck, because once again, this is really the deck I've been kind of sort of playing around with at the moment. You've got your gold base down, and you've maybe for like a turn or whatever, and you've chucked down your Archfiend, and it's like a I know it's your Barbarossa or whatever. I see the one you've got, but you've only got Barbarossia's left in hand. You've got no way of kind of forcing out your hand to try and get those other Archfiends. And this card definitely allows you to do that. And your deck is like 80% 4 characters as well, so you're going to be getting the crystal, which once again, with that new Cecil, is going to be 2 crystals just kind of coming out of nowhere, which gives you like a 2k buff to anything you want at any point. And then with the new Palom, you can sack this off to deal 10k, then allowing you to draw discard and gain another crystal. So
I will say though, like, as much as it's like 80% that, this is 90% 2 CP forwards as well now. So like, you are at huge risk of something like Ixion.
Sure.
Yeah. There's much against that, to be honest. I'm trying to think.
If you're doing
But
any
then the
sort of,
Paladin Prime were always about that, with that low anyway.
Love the artwork.
yeah, again, get the full arts, that'd be good. But yeah, going that route for it, I think, is getting dangerous with how close you're getting into that stuff. But I did like what you said before about using the EX pawn with the Paladin.
Yes.
The friend.
Ooh.
The friend.
Right, so a lot of people have been trying out Cat 6 as not just fire ice, but fire water ice. And this is very good for that, should that be the way it goes.
Yeah. I think this just replaces the Leo, right?
More or less.
No
More or less.
downside, essentially the same effect, just only affecting your opponent.
I really like his lowest two hands that have just been like, I just gotta sit down for a sec.
He's just resting on his beer belly.
Yeah. Like he's just had a really nice piece of cake.
He's just like unbuttoned his trousers and let it all
Oh,
out.
that was lovely. That was. Yeah, it's okay. The friend is all right. You play this over Leo, would you? But like, can you reliably get him onto the board?
Yeah, you play more than enough water that it's fine. You were already playing Mog. Strago is in the deck, and Gao is also in the deck. So you're going to have Ambers with that and Edgar. You'll have the CP for it when you need it.
I think this is starting to sound like a 70-card deck.
You little rat.
It's very borderline, but it is tight enough that it is possible. Whether it's good or not, and you can actually run it viably over just fire and ice, that remains to be seen. But we've seen it working before, where you just play the Strago and the Gao, and at that point, if you're just swapping the Leo for the Fiend, it's not the end of the world.
I think this looks more like a water card to me. Or a Mobius card for definite.
Yeah,
Yes,
I've been waiting for a card with this effect for like ages. Like I've always thought a card that read like this was going to be coming. It's just part of me is a little bit disappointed that it's now like gone to another different element. Like back in Opus 4-5, summon cancelling was like a big part of Ice's character and flavor, and
well.
since then, summon cancelling has gone to, like a lot of other places like Earth with Mist Dragon, Fire with General Leo, and now Water with this.
Well, fair enough. To be fair, back then Cleone existed.
I was going to say Cleone existed, yeah.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, I really like this card, and I like the idea of doing like a Protect the Queen type deck with it, but the problem is if you then come up against like a Cat 6 deck that's running no summons, it's just a dead card.
Yeah, fair enough. Let me just... Sorry, sorting out the next card.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Joker
it really on it. So.
There's a lot of different directions you can take this now. And this is just one of the possibilities. It could well end up being that Leo's just more consistent.
Yeah, I don't know. This isn't a Cat 6 card. This is a like water or like a water ice or water earth type card.
Next up we have Maiden with Eyes of Blue.
And you had a go at us for making Yu-Gi-Oh references.
Well, one, all right.
Well,
She had short hair. I'd say she looked like Ray, but whatever. This is really good, and this is the sort of card
Card's great.
that, like,
Actually
I was
phenomenal.
looking for. It's not a water card. It goes in any deck. Really
It
solid.
goes in any deck with a vein in it.
Or Beldat.
Yeah.
It draws cards. It's got Warp 4, which is great because you don't even want this on the board.
Well, it's great in the sense that you've played your 5 backups. Look at the top card. Is it a backup? Am I going to play it? No, bin it.
Yeah, well,
And it's
sort of,
choosing if Vayne draws a card or not is really good.
it's
Or
also
draws that
look
card
at
or
as well, rather than reveal.
Relevant.
not. Meliadul, which you can choose one for opponent controls as long as Meliadul's on the field, loses all abilities. It's okay. This is going to be for L3 or... Why is she dressed like Doctor Doom? Yeah, it's fine, but nah, probably not. It's a Final Fantasy Tactics character with a different name that we haven't seen before. Fantastic.
No.
10 out of 10. Yuna, the other water legend.
Fantastic.
I think this card is broke. I think it's so good. I think the sort of deck that this goes in does not go in the deck with the backup.
Well, the thing is, the backup reduces your water summons only by 1 CP. This theoretically reduces the first summon you cast each turn by 2 because you draw a card to replace it.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what element it is either.
The S
And have you
effect-
read the S effect? Holy.
Yeah, fantastic. Kills anything. And if you're really worried about, like, you know, touching your break zone or anything, you can still just have, like, Lena to make sure that nothing's going to get rid of anything in there. You know, even if it's not going to play Leviathan. But I think it's solid. I think it's really good. I think it's definitely an Earth Water sort of card. And there's definitely room
it draws on both turns as well.
Mm-hmm. I think they should unban Doga for
Especially
this
as,
card,
like-
honestly.
Especially if you're playing with like Rydia as well, like a Rydia based deck.
Yeah. Very, very true.
What have we got next? We have Unicorn.
This is a strange one.
Yeah, I don't really get this. People seem quite hyped on this one, but I'm not quite sure I understand why.
I mean, if water was still a thing, Una for 1 and activate and draw a card would be quite nice, I guess.
Sure. I suppose that's more of a Stormy thing, though, like you'd expect out of like Alexander or something like that.
Would you care about activating, though? In water?
Yeah, I'm not sold on this card either, if I'm honest. I get that, you know, 2CP being able to bounce a 4CP is great, but at the same time, you've got a Leviathan from last set that they can bounce and they can't replay it. And I just think... I think if you're trying to put Cat 6 forwards into water, which it kind of looks like it's designed to be played with things like Realm or things like that, but I don't think you're playing... Yeah, I don't know. It just feels
Are you
too
playing
loose.
this from Cat 6?
Well, is it to get both effects? You have to, like, that's what, but then
Somebody in the
lot-
chat has
like-
said it activates Warrior of Light.
I guess the big one as well is it activates Une, which is relevant. I think it's probably. I think that activating Une is more relevant than activating Warrior of Light.
That's very true. Yeah, I think activating Warrior of Light for 2 CP is basically just a worse Brynhilda, because you're paying 2 CP to deal 5k.
And draw a
and
card.
draw a
Depends on
card.
if you do it on the block, though, then you get more value out.
But why isn't this a Cat 6 card? Because you're drawing a card, you're revealing a card from the lock, and you're removing a forward.
That's true. This does trigger the lock.
So this is
That-
essentially a free remove forward card. Because it replaces itself and the CP used to cast it.
Mm.
I'd love to be shown on this one. I
need
again, don't really
yeah.
see it myself, but I am open-minded enough to see somebody really break this.
I'm going to play around with it and see if it does work.
Crystal
Harmony.
Oracle backup, fantastic card. Good to see it back. Fisher is... I think this one's pretty good, actually. So 2 CP backup that says draw 1 card for every 10 water cards in your break zone. So you're probably only going
Didn't
to
we
draw
just-
1, maybe 2, and obviously if it wants to mill yourself out. But if you're at that stage in the game that you know what it is that you're going to get because there's so little cards left in your deck, it could be the one. I don't dislike this at all.
I genuinely don't think it's ever going to draw you. Well, it might draw you 1 card. I don't think it will ever come close to drawing you more than that.
No, we
Yeah,
just
it's
spent
very
the
easy,
whole
actually.
last format making sure Water didn't get 10 cards in their break zone.
Yeah, and then their card got banned because it was too easy for them to do it.
This card is not going to see play in standard because Modern Water's dead. It's not going to see play in limited in a sealed format because you're not going to have that many water cards in your breaks, and it's not going to see play in L3 because Modern Water in L3 is just as good as Modern Water in standard. So
I think it's okay. I don't dislike it. I think the text is good enough. Drawing a card is pretty solid on a breakable backup. Luna Freya, quite good.
Warp 3.
I think this is very good.
So that is a non-targeting removal on entry, and if it enters from warp, it will bounce one as well. I think that's pretty.
And you can choose the order as well, right? So you can bounce
Yeah.
one and then make them select the other one potentially that you want to kill. So
It's all right.
So
It's
Warp
okay.
3 is a lot.
yeah, I do agree with Jacob on that one. I think it is good. It's
Very
got a really good warp
telegraphed.
effect, but it's warp 3 is a long time to wait for that effect.
But I think this slips into Sky Pirates because you're already playing Vayne. What Sky Pirates need is just more aggression. And what it is a 1 CP card that essentially lets you draw 2 with the Vayne, which is searchable and playable for free.
I can see it fitting in there.
Yeah. I think there needs to be a decent sort of wind-water deck again, to be honest. But no, I think that's interesting. I'd love to see it work.
Or even like a Sky Pirates Fran deck. That I've played around a bit with that deck, and I think you could definitely justify putting this Luna Freya in that deck.
Yeah. Leslie. When Leslie enters the field, you may discard 1 card. When you do so, choose 1 fully dependent controls returns to their zone of hand. If the discarded card is a category 7, also draw 1 card. Leslie is a water character, so the card that you discard almost cannot be a category 7.
Yeah. Wrong element.
Is of all
I mean,
of
there
them,
used to be
not this one.
that quite good Cloud Andreas deck.
Yeah.
But I think this card on its own almost definitely does not revive that deck. So
It discards the cards though. It's definitely not. It was easy enough to draw and get what you wanted out of that deck. So
yeah,
Leslie is not going to be doing it this one. So.
It's just a sealed card for all the other Cat 7s that are in the box.
He's only wearing 1 glove.
Absolutely.
Loperit, an excellent backup that Mono Water wishes it could play with Sildra.
Yep.
There is absolutely nothing bad about this card whatsoever, other than the fact that Sildra just got banned. It is incredible. Draw 2 and then put 1 at the bottom of your deck to put things back in.
the Leviathan back on the bottom.
Yeah, well, is this also great for your Earth Water Summoners Chaos Arc? And you can send some Arcs and Chaos back into your deck, so you don't book them.
What backup space have you got in that deck, though? It's the only issue.
I think when it comes to a new set, you have to go back to the drawing board completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I like it. I just wish that it didn't get completely screwed by the bans. Alchemist is the free one. Like I said, I think this would be the one that would have absolutely have seen play with Sildra, because this could easily have been the 4th backup.
Yeah.
But
it's just like it's a different Geomancer, where Geomancer, if you draw late, you try and get early to pay for 1, but if you draw it late, you can cycle that instead. But the Sildra, you just search these out and chuck them down immediately without thinking about it, and then if you draw them late, you don't really care.
Unfortunately, this card is an ill fit like his tiny hat.
Very tiny hat.
Rosa, which Jacob, you've talked enough about it. Take it away.
Yeah, it's annoying because this card just kind of ties all the other 4 cards in with each other. It means that, where in the Arcfiend deck you're playing 4 or 5 elements, you could just not care. The second effect is not so relevant in Archfiends because you want to keep one of the Cecils, whatever Cecil you're playing with, down for as long as possible, but does become quite relevant if you're running it as more of a Earth Water style deck when you can run the Earth Cecil and then sort of like job swap him into the Paladin form. And then it says once per turn you get the draw.
Drawing at least one card is enough.
Yeah, for sure. For a 1 CP that colour fixes, but it also says once per turn, so you can like use that Cecil to swap out to the other Cecil on your opponent's turn, and then get the draw on their turn as well, which is kind of cute. But yeah, I mean, it just every line of text on this card is relevant. Would I have preferred for it to be a backup? Absolutely. Would it have probably been too good as a backup? Probably.
As a backup, this would need to cost 5 or 6.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I think where it stands, what the card does, fantastic.
I think when this was spoiled, like when we were talking about it that day, the first thing I said was, "Are you joking?" Anything for this for Cat 4 of all of them? Are you joking? Yeah, it's good. I think it's incredible. I think this will 100% see competitive play get you full arts. God, Jacob, you're having a hard time with this set for full arts as well.
Are you telling me? Oh, I should have seen. I'm going straight from getting a playset of the Cherubikis now. I'm having to struggle. I didn't get a single Rydia full art last set, and that was one of the full arts I was like begging, or a single Priest full art. And now I've got a whole nother like 20 full arts I need from this set.
Yeah.
Painful.
Waka. Let's cut it to the chase. No, it's called Waka, and you're not playing this over anything else.
Nope. Really cool effect, but yeah, no.
Cymru is. I think it is absolutely insane. This is the card that, in my opinion, Kefka from last set wanted it to be. It's balanced by having no category and a bad job, but Jesus Christ, if you can get this out for 2 CP, then search for any card and then attack on Brave 9k and have an S effect which can board wipe. It's just this is chef's kiss, beautiful stuff. Absolutely.
Thank God you cannot Althea this card.
No.
Well, I would say as well, just like because of the S effect, I'd say 100% you play 3 of these.
It's expensive. I mean, it's 10 CP in total to play it and to board wipe.
Yeah, you're not doing it in the same turn. But
that's implying you've got some left in deck as well. Because problem is, there's only light versions of this card, right? So I get you searches your card. But...
If your opponent is beating you on forwards, which means that you can play this for 2, and you've still got backups. So at least 4 backups. The card that you search for can be Cymru, so that you're only discarding 2 cards from hand, or 3 cards from hand and playing 4 backups, which is more than doable. It's so clean. The fact that it can search any card. I don't like how searchable it isn't, but I think the card is insanely good.
It's awkward that it says 3 or more forwards than you, rather than just 3 or more forwards. So you almost always are going to have an empty board when you want to play this.
Sure.
But... great anti-13 cards, so can't complain with that.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is definitely the one that turns off 13.
Especially if you get to play this for 2, then play so it's the Ixion to pay for 2.
Yeah, definitely. Well, anything that you can do that with definitely makes it worth it. But yeah, anything that punishes aggro going too far as well, and an easy, even costed S effect, so that you can break it, and you can just cleanly just break the board, then still attack, and then just draw your cards next turn. I don't know. I'm very impressed with this card. There's literally nothing bad about it, apart from the fact that it's light. It's a light card worth playing. And I do think that the S effect means that you can play more than one. But anything anybody wants to add on this one?
Well, it's wondering whether it's this set's Kodaj in the sense that it's the light or dark card you play if you've got nothing better to play, because Chaos Arc is still playable so long as Wall is potentially a thing.
Yeah. And playing this as well in your deck is going to make sure that your opponent's chaos is going to cost one less, but they can't take it. So there is that as well. But I don't know. I'm very impressed with this card. I really do think that there's a lot to it, and I think this is going to be the chase full art of the set. I think this will be the expensive one.
Well, if you're going to want it, you're going to want 3 of it.
Definitely. Materia. Oh, right. Okay, so the Materia and Spiritus, I've got strong feelings on both of these. So the Materia, we do... So we'll be able to talk about these both at the same time. So Materia says you can play more than one, play 2 or more light characters onto the field, but she has to be the first one. So it's not like Cosmos. And when she enters, you gain a crystal. If she enters, you gain a crystal. That is excellent value already. For 1 crystal on tap, you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck and add 1 forward among them, and return the others to the bottom of your deck in any order. And for 2 on tap, you can gain crystal. Excellent,
Insane.
excellent. Spiritus similarly says that at the end of each of your turns, if you are paid 2 or more crystals, then gain a crystal, which is excellent with something like Lady Lilith. And then for crystal and tap, you can choose 1 forward and it gains 5,000 power until the end of the turn. This is, I mean, both of them excellent. All the effects are incredible. Great full arts, really solid stuff that you can do with these, but you can't search them, so you can't play them. Simple as that.
You can search Spiritus with Camelot.
You can, but then you've got to play Camelot.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a problem.
Also,
Using Camelot as an excuse to say that you can search, like that you're paying 5 CP to search, which just
and then,
like,
and then as well that you cannot play him until Camelot's changed his element. So, I wish I could love Camelot in this day and age, but it's just not possible. You can search them both with Thordan, and you can search them both with Sid 2, but you're not going to do that with either of them. It's that's the.
I like
They
that
both
it's
do really well. I do really like them both. I think there's still worlds where they see play, but it is a shame that you can't search them. But then would they be busted if you could? Don't know.
Yeah. I don't think so. I
They
think
don't
just
colour
a
fix.
more interesting deck. Yeah.
I think this goes with Lady Lilith, right?
The Spiritist does, yeah.
Yeah. And the other one just goes with water.
Well,
I really like this one. The material I really like in Mono Ice, actually. You can use crystals you get from your Agrius and stuff, and being able to search out it's a majority forward deck.
Just lets you use your CP that you've got floating.
You can search this in Mono Ice, actually, with the Agito.
Yeah, Leon. But I like the material. I'd definitely be testing that.
I want to love them both. I can't. Last of all, we have Xenos. James, you were pretty big on this one when it got spoiled in the first place. And you really turned me around on it. I love the fact that you can play it from the break zone. I think
the big thing to note with Xenos, which is why I really like the card, the thing that's better about Xenos than Edge that we saw earlier, is you can't respond to Xenos because it's a cast. You're just casting it from break zone.
Yeah.
Whereas Edge, you're using an ability. So if they can pay the 2 and the crystal, and on the stack of them doing that, you can then misdragon the break zone and remove the Edge. There's no window for them to misdragon. You just flat out cast the Xenos. They have to proactively misdragon as soon as he gets in it.
My problem really is that the break is on a cost 3, and 3s aren't fantastic at the moment. I suppose maybe if the Cat 6 deck gets that much better, then it's going to be really good. But it's okay, I think.
I think it's cool being able to, because obviously when you cast it from break zone, you can't. He then gets removed from game at the end. I like the idea of playing it in one day in a mid-rangey discard deck where you then Renoa him and play him back onto the field so he doesn't get removed at the end of the turn. And also you then hopefully try and get some break and discard effects. But I agree, but I think it's not reliable enough being having to be a forward of cost 3 or less.
Well, that and it's when he enters the field from the break zone, it's removed at the end of the turn. It's not straight away that 99% of other cards say, you know, when it hits the break, remove it from the game instead. This does go to the break zone, so you are going to get the second effect.
Sure. Yeah.
This is the other dart that goes with chaos, right? So you got Kadar in this.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Right, if we're done here, I suppose we're going to wrap that up. That went probably a little bit longer than we expected. 3 hours pretty much on the dot now.
But still, go through all cards. That's pretty good going.
Yeah, not too bad at all. So I think what we'll do here is we'll cut it off. So I'll say goodbye, and thanks for everybody for joining me and going through this on this ordeal to look at all the cards. I hope everybody else is going to have a cool release and pre-release, and join us next Thursday again for Fight Night. Mr. Fish will not be on the commentary this week because
What the heck?
well, he's decided to go to London with us, so he's going to get a little bit in. So I'm going to sub out for him.
I'm mad.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
But
I'm sure you'll be fine without me, Jacko.
We'll get you playing on Streamfish.
Ah.
So you're gonna point
in
them out?
every round.
We would never.
Oh god.
All
Nice
right,
one.
then.
Well, looking forward to seeing you boys then, and thanks for everyone that joined us.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks very much, everybody. Cheers.
See you guys later.
See you later.